and the academia who have joined us for the session. We have a great lineup for the whole day. We start with the internet sensation, Mr. Ankur Warikoo, as the first speaker, followed by Dr. Ilham Hobibie from Indonesia, and then followed by our local sensation, the founder of Pino'z pizzas, Mr. Sanam Kapoor, and then followed by a panel with Chitkara alumni startups, and then we go out to the winners and the finalists, top 5 finalists of the Hacks Idea Hackathon, and then we conclude with our keynote speaker, the last keynote speaker from Gen India Global Entrepreneurship Network, Mr. Yatin K Thakur. Ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful students, we are so humbled to come and share with you details about our first speaker with 1.5 million followers all over social media. He was the founder of Nearby. He was also the CEO for many years for Groupon India, awarded as the Social Media Entrepreneur of the Year in 2018. A person who's loved and liked by the youth, a startup evangelist, an investor, a mentor, and more so, a public speaker. A talent full of confidence, a crusader of, I would say, social media, and a crusader of, goodness also, I would say, and somebody who has a massive fan following with the youth and the students. I would not take much time, but I would now request our wonderful speaker, Ankur Warikoo, who's just joined us, to come on board and address the students. Over to you, Ankur. And also, I should not forget that Ankur is, rewarding around 15, scholarships to the bright startups of Chitkara University. More on that coming soon, but over to Ankur Warikoo. Over to you, Ankur.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be amongst all of you. Congratulations on conducting this Startup Conclave, especially during these times when it's nearly not easy to organize something as large as this on a completely online platform. So please accept my congratulations again, all the students and the organizers. It's a privilege to be speaking to all of you. My name is Ankur. I've been very fortunate to have lived the life of an entrepreneur for close to a decade, slightly more than that. And what I wanted to do today for the next 30 odd minutes is very quickly just walk you through my journey, and through that leave you with a few very important life lessons, irrespective of whether you are an entrepreneur, wish to become an entrepreneur, or perhaps just want to work in a startup and don't want to necessarily start something on your own. These life lessons hold true for anyone listening in. They're not specific to entrepreneurship or startup, but it's basically the big realization that I had in my life, which is entrepreneurship is not a profession. It's very easy for us to think that entrepreneurship is when you start a new company or a business, when you own most of that on your own, you raise funding, you do all of those glamorous, happy things. And that's what makes you an entrepreneur. But my big learning in life has been that entrepreneurship is a state of mind. If you are an entrepreneur or not, it is determined by how you think, how you behave, how you conduct yourself on a daily basis. And even if you are in a job, you can very well be an entrepreneur. And even if you own a startup or a business, you might as well never become an entrepreneur. And that is the big difference. When you look at people like Sundar Pichai, when you look at people like Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook, when you look at individuals who are not the ones who started the companies, but are today perhaps playing the role that maybe even the founder could not have even played. The question is, are they employees or are they entrepreneurs? Are they actually people who own the company? And the answer is clearly not. But are they people who could have very well owned the company because of the way they think, they behave, they operate? And the answer is conclusively yes. And that's what is something that I wanted to leave all you with. You are all students, you are very young, you're embarking on this wonderful life that lies ahead of you. And if you can make one decision in your life that is perhaps going to change everything around your life, it is simply about how are you going to live life? Are you going to live life with a growth mindset that says, I am not going to be limited by what I was born. I'm not going to be limited by the fact that my capability is limited, my intelligence is limited, my hard work is limited. I am going to actually do whatever is possible. And as long as my heart is in it, as long as I have the right capability, the right people around me, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And that's the entrepreneurial mindset. So let me take you back, and I'll take you back all the way to school. So I was not meant to do what I'm doing right now. I had a very different life plan, a very different life plan that comprised three things. Number one, go to the US for a PhD. Number two, join NASA as a space scientist. And number three, go to Mars, and that's where I will always stay. That was my life. That was how I planned for myself. And as early as in the 7th and 8th standard, I had this complete life plan in front of me. I knew exactly what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And everything that I was doing was towards this plan. Everything, every decision that I took, every step that I took was towards this plan. So I joined Delhi University, Hindu College, in its physics program. I wanted to become a pure scientist, and devoting myself to physics was something that felt the right thing to do. And the goal was very clear. It was to go to the US for the PhD. I started applying for my PhD programs, and I got through Michigan State University on a full scholarship. So I didn't have to pay a single penny to go and do my PhD now. And on top of that, they were paying me $1,500 a month as stipend to study, which was crazy. This is exactly what I'd imagined, but this was like my wildest dreams coming true. This was more money than my dad was earning, and he had been working for 40 years. And now suddenly as a student, I would be earning $1,500 a month and not have to pay a single penny for my education. And then I went to Michigan State University. And the more and more I spent time doing my PhD, I began to realize that it was something that I was good at, but it didn't make me happy. It was something that I was good at, but it didn't make me happy. I could top my class, I could get the best marks possible, I could be on that fast track to complete a PhD, but if I just kept a hand on my heart and asked myself, am I really happy? The answer was no, I wasn't. And that was a very tough realization, because I'd spent almost 8 years of my life preparing for this. And now suddenly when I was in the middle of making this happen, I was at this crossroads of, do I still pursue it? Or do I pursue something else which may make me happy? And I didn't know what that answer was. I didn't know what would make me happy. All I knew was, and I was unhappy doing what I was doing. And at that point of time, I decided to quit and drop out of my PhD and come back to India. And this is 2004 I'm talking about. No one dropped out of their education back then. Like today, it's really cool to drop out of college and everything. But back then, dropping out of education was a complete no-no. And not if you are on 100% scholarship, not if you are on top of your class, not if this is exactly what you wanted to do all these years. It didn't make sense to anyone in my world. My parents didn't find the decision very smart. None of my friends supported it. I was alone in that decision, but I was very clear that this is not going to make me happy. And if I'm not doing something that makes me happy, then I have no way of excelling in it. Absolutely not, because I will get up every morning with that burden of, oh shit, I have to go to work. I have to get this done. And I didn't want to be doing that ever. So I came back to India at the age of 24. I have no plan. My dreams have gotten crushed. I have zero idea of what to do in life. I'm super confused. And my friends around me were like, look, you're confused. So why don't you do what most confused people do? Go get an MBA. And I am from Delhi University, so I kind of knew what the MBA was all about and everything, but I wasn't sure of whether it was the right thing for me or not. Like I wasn't sure of the 2-year time, money, investment, and everything was the right decision for me. And I just serendipitously, just pure luck, got to know of this very young school. It was only 5 years old. It was an insanely expensive program, but it was a 1-year program, which is awesome. So I wouldn't have to spend 2 years figuring something out. And best was that it was a bunch of work experienced people that came together to study. And I felt that was the best experience I could get because I had no idea about the world. I had no idea. All that I'd been doing all these years until the age of 24 was just study. So I had no idea about what marketing is, finance is, HR is, IT is, strategy is. So for me to spend time with people who had actually done that in real life was very important, and I felt I could learn a lot from them. So I applied to this new school called ISB, and I thankfully got through. I was the 5th batch of ISB, and that 1 year just fundamentally changed me. Everything about me and my life changed when I went to ISB. And I think that the biggest reason that happened was because I didn't go to ISB looking for a job or a career or a profession or a company or a salary or a title or a function. I went to ISB looking for myself. I went to ISB trying to understand who am I? What am I good at? What am I not good at? And that 1 year just gave me that answer. And when I came out of ISB, I decided to work for a bit, and I worked for 3 years. And then in 2009, 11 years back, I started my first venture along with a batchmate from ISB. It was called secondshadi.com. It was a matrimonial website for remarriages, people who got divorced and widowed. It was a platform for them to get married again. It still runs. And that was our first startup. We knew nothing about marriage. We weren't married ourselves, but here we were getting people married the second time. And it was fun. It was a lot of challenge, a lot of illusions that you have about starting up were just completely shattered. We felt it was easy and it was just glamorous and it was just so cool from the outside. But once you start to do it, you realize it's a very, very different thing. And then in 2010, I stepped down from that startup, wanted to do something else. And I got in touch with Groupon. And Groupon just started in 2008 in Chicago. And it was growing like crazy. They wanted to be in every country of the world. India was one of them. So they were looking for someone to start their India business. And I got in touch with them. They liked me. I liked them. And I then started the Groupon India business in 2011. First merchant, first employee, first office, everything started in from there. Did that for 4 years alongside also then became the head of Groupon APAC, did that for a couple of years. And in 2015, I started Nearby, which was an offshoot of Groupon. And the idea was, why don't we give fantastic deals and discounts to people, which is exactly what Groupon used to do. And we did that for a couple of years. And in 2017, we got invested by Paytm and we became a Paytm company. And in 2019, last year in October, I decided to step down as the CEO of my startup and decided to take a break, which is what I've been on for the last year, just figuring what I want to do next and generally just doing a lot of things that give me joy, give me happiness. When I look back at my life, and the reason I share it with all of you is because there are wonderful life lessons built in it. The first one is there are always right reasons and wrong reasons for you to start. If you want to become an entrepreneur, if you want to become a founder, you want to start your own business, you want to start your own venture, there are always the right and the wrong reasons. And I think people focus on the right reasons, but they very easily ignore the wrong reasons. And here are 3 top reasons that I have come across, which I believe are the absolute wrong reasons for anyone to start. Number 1, I want to start up because I want to make money. And I think that that's a big, big, big wrong reason for starting up. The reason is simple. The reason why I say this is wrong is because startups are hard. They're insanely hard. There is a lot that has to work in your favor for you to make the startup successful, let alone make money for you. You have to build a product. You have to find a team that can do that for you, with you. You have to then get the product out into the market. You have to make sure that customers love your product and keep using it. You have to then ensure that you make money from that product. Maybe at some point of time, you start to raise money and you become even bigger. You then have to ensure that you keep growing. You then have to ensure that at some point of time, the company either makes profits or gets acquired or gets listed on the stock exchange. And that's when you see the first source of money coming in for you. But until then, you are most likely on less than market salary. You're struggling to make things work. You're always optimizing for the survival of the startup, not so much for your financial needs. And that is a hard journey to travel. And I can argue that if you were to stick in a corporate job and do a good job at that, you will have a far higher likelihood of having a stable income than becoming an entrepreneur. So the minute I hear someone saying, I want to become an entrepreneur because I want to make money, I just disconnect, because that is almost always the wrong reason to do so. Number two, I want to become an entrepreneur because I hate my life right now. And it's amazing how many people do that. I hate what I'm doing. I hate my job. I don't want to study what I'm studying right now. This is not what I wanted to do. So to escape my current world, I want to start up, or I want to become an entrepreneur. And that is, again, a wrong reason. It's a wrong reason because your interests are aligned to escaping from the current world, not in making your startup work. You just want to escape from your current world. You just want some sort of a deviation or a distraction from what you're doing currently. And that doesn't mean that a startup will give you that solution. It most likely won't, because the startup will be far harder than what you have set out to do or what you're doing right now. And number three, I want to start up because all of my friends are starting up, because it's the cool thing to do. And it is. Today, when you read the newspaper and you see all the IPL ads, half of them are internet startups and cool companies, whether it's Cred or it's Unacademy or it's Dream11 or so on and so forth. And then you read fundraising news launches in the newspapers and on Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and wherever else, and you see the success stories of successful founders becoming millionaires and billionaires and doing this and that. It just sounds really attractive. It just sounds wonderful. And you want to do that because you want to be them. You want to do something that gets you that same kind of fame and recognition. But there, what we all suffer from is called survivorship bias, which is only the survivors are the ones who will make news because everyone else has died. Every other startup that started no longer existent, so they will never be in the news. And the only ones who will be in the news are the ones who have survived. So what you're looking at is a very small percentage of people who actually started up and became successful. But we think it's the entire world. We think that that is all that there is to it. And that makes up the third wrong reason to start up. But what are the right reasons to start? And that then goes back to the life that I shared with you. I go back to the same message that I started with, which is entrepreneurship is not a profession, it's a state of mind. It's how you think, it's how you operate. And here's what entrepreneurs do to make them successful. Number one, go back to your first day at Chitkarau. Go back to the day when you had your induction, you were brought onto a wonderful campus, you were amongst hundreds of students, all from across the world, very different people, different ways of speaking, different ways of looking, different ways of dressing up, different experiences, different backgrounds, different academic experiences. And what we did in that first week when we landed on that freshly minted campus was look for people who are like us. That's what we did, right? That's what you did. You hunted for people who were like you, who looked like you, who talked like you, who were from the same background as you. So suddenly you were hanging around with people who came from the same city or the same school or maybe the same discipline or whatnot. You were looking for people who were like you. And when you spend time with people who are like you don't remember or learn anything new. When you spend time with people who are like you don't get to experience a new side of the world. You only get to hear what you already know. It's like going on social media. When you open up Facebook or Instagram, you're not hearing or looking at something that is challenging your point of view. No, you're only reading things that endorse your point of view, that tell you, you know what you know is absolutely right. And here is proof of that. Here is a great evidence of that. So you're like, aha, what I know is true. What I know is true. It's amplifying your beliefs. It is telling you that what you know is the truth. But entrepreneurs don't behave like that. Entrepreneurs consciously spend time with people who are nothing like them. Entrepreneurs spend time with people who are very different from them, because that's when they get to learn and see a different side of the world. And they do this as a discipline. They do this as a discipline. The reason why I'm spending time with you, or I create the content that I do on all these social media channels, is because I want to spend time with people who are nothing like me. It's very easy for me to go back to my tech and startup world because that's where I belong, hang around all the founders and the entrepreneurs and just hobnob with them, discuss funding and discuss growth and discuss everything else. But I consciously choose to create content and engage with 20-year-olds because I get to experience a very different side of the world. I get to hear, what is it that you're thinking? How is it that you think about things? All the confusion that comes along with your career decisions, all the anxiety and stress that you go through because of the uncertainty that comes along with being so young. And I just discover so much on a daily basis. People writing in with their emails around anything, around personal problems, problems with their parents, problems with their own self, problems in their relationships, a different way of looking at their careers, trying to shift careers, not enjoying what they're doing, maybe being forced into an educational stream not of their choice, loving what they're doing, but want to do a lot more, all sorts of problems. And those were very similar to what I experienced when I was in my 20s. But now that I'm 40, I have almost forgotten all of that. But every interaction that I have with people such as you remind me of the same thing. Tell me something new. Tell me of how the world's changed. Tell me of how is it that you were so different from who I was when I was in my 20s. So that's the first thing. Spend time with people who are nothing like you. And if you can give yourself a great gift, especially when you are at a place like Chitkara, where it literally has handpicked the best students from across and thrown them on a campus, or at least in a construct right now, and hopefully the campus will open up sometime sooner than later. This is a blessing. It's a blessing because you don't have to really go out of your way to find people who are nothing like you. You literally have them hand delivered wherever you are on a daily basis. But the choice will have to be made by you. You will have to decide that, you know what, I'm going to have lunch with someone who's completely outside of my department. If I'm an engineer, I want to hang out with people who are from arts. If I am a law student, I want to hang out with someone who is a chemical engineer. I want to just experience a completely different way of thinking about things. And that will make you a lot more aware. It will train you for the world that actually exists. That's number one. Spend time with people who are nothing like you. Number two, again, go back to Chitkara. Great campus, wonderful facilities, everything at your disposal. And at some point of time, I am sure, I am confident, and I know none of you, personally, I don't know any one of you, but I can guarantee that at some point in time, you started cribbing about things. Or the gym's not working very well, or the courts are not so good, or the internet is not so fast, the food sucks, the air conditioning is not great, the beds are not good, the classrooms stink. Hajar cheeze, complaints. What you've essentially done is at some point of time, convinced yourself that you deserve to be where you are in life. And now the world has to attend to you. You have worked really hard to be where you are in life, but now the world has to attend to you. They have to give you everything that you want, the way you want it, whenever you want it. And you get this massive sense of entitlement. I need this. I deserve this. Give it to me. And if I don't get it, I complain. I crib. And that's not how entrepreneurs work. They don't. They are constantly telling themselves, I don't deserve to be here. I am just lucky. I was born in a family that took care of me, that gave me food, shelter, upbringing, education, love, money. And because of that, I sit on opportunities that most people will never get to see in their life. And they will perhaps work far harder than I ever do. They may be even smarter than me, but they will not see the opportunities that I see and take for granted. And they are constantly telling themselves, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. Now, how does that change? It changes things because they are constantly then working towards what they can do to deserve things. They're constantly telling themselves, everything that the world is doing for me, I don't deserve it. And if I don't deserve it, I have to continue working hard to make sure that I come close to saying I deserve this. And that is the only way that it works. For them in their mind, everything is around, I have to earn it. And if I have been given this because I'm privileged, because I'm lucky, I have to earn it. I remember every day that I used to show up at work, I was like, you know what? I'm not the CEO of Nearby, and I will take it for granted. I am the CEO of Nearby, and this is a gift someone has given me. And every single day, I have to make sure that I earn this position. And the truth is, there were a lot of days when I didn't. There were a lot of days when I didn't deserve to be the CEO of Nearby, that I didn't deserve to be leading the organization, that I didn't deserve to be taking charge of all the decisions. And that was a constant reminder that this is not entitlement, that this is something I have to consistently work towards. And if I don't grow as a person, as a leader, as an individual in my thought process and my actions, then I have absolutely no way of saying that I deserve to be here. And the last thing, everything that you look around you, every product, every service, it's designed for one thing, and that is to make your life comfortable. That's what it is, to make your life comfortable. Everything that we do is to make our life comfortable. So it tricks us into believing that the purpose of life is to make our life comfortable. It tricks us into believing that the only purpose, the only thing that we are going for is our life should be comfortable. But ironically, when you look at the most successful people in the world, when you look at people who you are inspired by, that you would want to be, that you are motivated by, you will realize that every single day, they are making choices that make them uncomfortable. They are making hard choices in life. And whenever I see college students, it shocks me how much of your effort goes towards making your life comfortable when it should be exactly the opposite. Here's the truth about college life. Nothing that you do in college will screw up your life as long as it's not illegal. Nothing that you do in your life during college is going to screw up your life. And yet you will choose the path of comfort. If you are scared of public speaking, you can get up on stage and Chitkara will open up so many opportunities for you to do so, but you won't, because you're scared of what people will say. You're scared of people laughing at you. You're scared of people mocking you. But the truth is, how does it even matter? This is the time when you can actually make these things and nothing will happen. You won't get fired from your job. You won't get expelled from the university. Nothing will happen. A few people will laugh at you. So what? You will at least have that confidence and that experience to stand up on stage and address an audience. If you are not comfortable reaching out to strangers, you don't know what it is to cold email people. You don't know what it is to cold call people. You don't know what it is to write a professional email looking for an internship. And you still wouldn't do it because you have the fear of rejection. But what is rejection during college? Nothing. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to destroy your life. This is the time to get rejected as many times as you can. Because if in these 3, 4, 5 years, you face rejection in a way that is constantly nudging you to improve, you're only going to get far, far, far better when college is over. This is the best gift that you can give yourself, and yet you wouldn't, because we have been drugged into believing comfort. Assignment hai, and we're like, all right, we'll split it. You do half of it, you do half of it, and we'll just put our names on it. Comfort. I want to sleep for 15 more minutes. Comfort. I've had such a long day. I'm going to drown myself now in Netflix series. Comfort. I don't want to make the hard choices. Comfort. I don't want to ask that question in class. Comfort. I don't want to pick up a hard subject. Comfort. I don't want to approach that recruiter, that professor, that student for help. Comfort. Every single choice being made for that. And that is so unfortunate. And an entrepreneur doesn't think like that. An entrepreneur is constantly telling themselves, I want to make my life uncomfortable. I don't want to get comfortable. And the more and more I take decisions that challenge me, that scare me, I know I'm taking the right decision. So when you look at these 3 things, 1, spending time with people who are nothing like you. 2, not having a sense of entitlement. And 3, don't get comfortable. Those are the working models of how an entrepreneur thinks and behaves. And there are about 1,200 of you on this conclave right now. And I'm sure not all of you want to become an entrepreneur, and that's totally okay. It's absolutely okay. But for you not to think like one, that's not okay. You can be an entrepreneur while still at work. You can be an entrepreneur while still being an employee. It's how you think. It's how you behave. If you do want to become an entrepreneur, there is a lot that you have to prepare yourself for. So what I've done in the last 1 year is actually devoted myself to compiling all my learnings, everything that I know as an entrepreneur, condensing it into digestible content that I can share with entrepreneurs, share with future founders, help them just go through this journey, because there's just so much that people don't know before they start. I didn't know a lot before I started. I just assumed, and I made a lot of mistakes. And I don't want people to be making those mistakes, especially if there is so much collective wisdom in the world. So I came up with several series, and one of them is the Complete Guide to Starting Up. There's a 16-hour series telling you everything that there is to how to go about launching your own startup. How do you go about selecting your idea, building your team, fundraising, making your product, launching the product and getting your first few customers, everything. And what I wanted to do was, while addressing all of you, give you a sneak peek into it. And that is available through the course. As was announced, I would love to give away 15 of these courses away as scholarships to deserving students. Anyone that is eager to start up and deserves to win this scholarship. And I would encourage you to just broaden your mind and consume a lot of content and learn a lot from the experiences of entrepreneurs before you embark on that journey. Because the more you do your homework before you actually sit in the class, the better your class will be, better your real life experiences will be. I've spoken long enough. I want to end with just one small anecdote, and then see if there is any way that we can have some questions. If not, that's totally okay as well. The anecdote is one of my favorite ones from life. I used to be a visiting faculty at a business school in Gurgaon, and I used to teach digital marketing back then. I was a small class. I was an elective in the MBA program, so about 20, 30 students used to take that elective. It was a 6-month elective. And at the end of those 6 months, I used to have a final exam, which was just one simple question. The final exam was, list at least 3 things that you have learned from this course. That's it. That was the final exam. I was the most loved professor. List at least 3 things that you have learned from this course. That was the final exam. And over 4 years, about 120 odd students would have taken this exam. And only 6 of them passed the exam. And you're like, how can anyone fail this exam? List at least 3 things that you've learned from this course. How can anyone fail this exam? The reason I failed everyone except these 6 students is because everyone listed exactly 3 things that they learned from this course. While my question was, list at least 3 things that you have learned from this course. Here's what I did. I tricked people to believing that listing 3 things was success. And almost everyone fulfilled that criteria and stopped. They didn't go further. Did people learn more than 3 things in the course? Absolutely, 100%. But I tricked them into believing that 3 is the only thing they need to do. So they stopped at 3. And that is what, my dear friends, happens to us on a daily basis. On a daily basis. Someone, our professors, our parents, our friends, our partners, are constantly telling us, this is the minimum thing you need to do to be successful. And we will stop at that. We just stop at that. We don't go beyond. We don't stop and ask ourselves, is that your definition of success for me? Or is this my definition of success for me? And the only thing that I can leave you with is do yourself a favor and define what success means for you. You are wonderfully young in life right now. There's a beautiful life ahead of you. And the best and the only gift that I can request you to give your own selves is to define success for your own self. Don't let the world define that for you. You have to define it for yourself. And once you define it, you go ahead and chase it. It's your life, and you shouldn't be living someone else's. I'll stop. Thank you so much again for having me. It's a pleasure to interact with all of you, and my best wishes to all of you for your future ahead. Thank you. I think you're on mute, is it? Sorry.
I'm not sure.
Hi, Ankur. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, now loud and clear.
Sorry about that. Too many screens here, and all thanks to the technical team. So, Ankur, here is a heartfelt thank you. And it is such an honor, that the insights you gave from your story in a very story way, the narrative was amazing. And we are also very thankful that 15 students are going to get scholarships from your startup program, and we look forward to a bigger number because Chitkara has over 150 startups, and we look forward them to come into the fold of the knowledge stream you are building with the experience you have, and also look forward to formally invite you to come on campus and visit us. So that's what we're looking at. And on behalf of Chitkara management and the family of Chitkaras, we look forward to have you very soon on campus, and thank you from the core of our heart.
Thank you. I really look forward to being on campus. All the best again. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Brilliant session. Brilliant session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, students, and thank you very much, audience, for wonderful attendance. And we are over 1,000 students and 1,000 audience. The conclave is just geared up with the session done by the internet sensation Ankur Warikoo. Let me take you to another, platform and another level of an international personality we have with us today at the Startup Conclave hosted by Chitkara University. I'm talking about the person you've read already in the last few weeks while we were sharing knowledge and information about the event. It's an honor for Chitkara University and the family here to welcome the stalwart and the most respected personality in Indonesia, Dr. Ilham A. It is an honor to welcome a personality who has so many laurels, not only in professional career, but also as an academician and as an academic career, who did his doctorate from the University of Munich, Germany, spent a lot of time in Germany, understands the international environment, and brought all of the knowledge and skills to the growth of his own country and nation, the wonderful Indonesia. India, Indonesia, a lot of synergy, a lot of culture in common, and we look forward to some wonderful, exchange and partnerships ahead with the wonderful country we have in Asia. And Chitkara University looks forward to, also be a part of the massive incubation program, which Indonesia, under the, guidance and chairmanship and leadership of Dr. Ilham, is hosting. With that note, it's an honor to welcome Dr. Ilham Hobibie, who is also the chairman of the National ICT Council of Indonesia, which is formed and chaired by the President of Indonesia. A lot of accolades to Dr. Ilham's journey. A wonderful gentleman, a great speaker. I had a personal experience to be a part of a panel which he was chairing, and I listened to his keynote. Ladies and gentlemen, without further wasting any time, I would be very happy to share and humbly welcome Dr. Ilham Hobibie right away from Indonesia. Welcome, Dr. Hobibie.
Thank you very much for the kind words, and I'm happy to join everybody in India at Chitkara University, and I look forward to my discussions and my presentation with all of you over there. Thank you for the introduction again. I've actually prepared something in form of a presentation. Have you received it?
Sure, yes, we have received it, and for the wonderful audience we have, Dr. Hobibie is going to talk about the role of startups internationally to build UN sustainability goals. So we have received, and we are just on to it. We can start now.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, in India, I'm here. My name is Ilham Hobibie, as already introduced. I am Indonesian. I lived many years, more than 30 years of my life in Germany. So you can imagine, I was actually born there. That German, in fact, is my first language. I speak it better than even my own language because I did all my education in that country. After that, my professional background is I'm an aeronautical engineer, and I did until my PhD level everything about aeronautic engineering. And so I worked many years only doing things and designing products and doing business with aeronautics, which is airplanes, commercial airplanes. I worked for Boeing for some years in the 90s, and then I went back to my home country actually for the first time as a resident. That was also in the 90s, the late 90s. And since then, I'm here in Jakarta and enjoy my life here. Indonesia is a very vibrant country, as India is. And as already has been said, we have a lot of things in common. I have a lot of business partners and friends, personal friends from India. Some of them live in India, some of them live in Indonesia. There's some Indians who came over to Indonesia, have become Indonesians. As you can see already from the name Indonesia, the Indo basically refers to an Indian culture background, but Nesia is actually the Greek word islands. So you can say Indonesia is sort of like the Indian islands. In reality, the culture that we see here is a true mix between things that came from the West and things that come from the North and from the East. So there's a lot of Chinese influence here as well. Of course, there's some very strongly local, but all of that is what constitutes Indonesia of today, which is a true multicultural and very open society. Of course, every society has its own challenges, it's clear, but nevertheless, the concept of Indonesia is universal and open and multicultural. And so in that regard, I think I would like to give my presentation, which actually defines what the role of the startup is in achieving the so-called SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. Can I have the first slide, please? Okay. Or am I supposed to share what from my screen? I can do it too, it's okay. Maybe I do that. Oh, okay, now. Okay, so you can see that's my name and basically the presentation. Oops, I don't know how to, can you do the next slide? Or is it, yeah. Okay, so this is just a brief introduction because I was introduced as the Chief Executive of the so-called National ICT Council, as already said. It is actually headed on a steering committee level by the President of the Republic itself. I am the Chief Executive, meaning I'm leading the working team. And if you look at the structure of the working team, it is truly multi-sectoral, so cross-sectoral. We have representatives from the government itself, from professional and society organization, from academia, and lastly, of course, also from the private sector. And I'm actually a representative of the private sector. I'm not a true government officer, but I have the honor and pleasure to contribute sometime to this very important organization. Our task is basically, that's to be seen in the next slide. Just focus on the blue. Basically, we have to help the government to formulate general policies and strategy direction that have to do with ICT. That we focus also, we help to resolve existing strategic issues. We conduct national coordination with central, local government, state-owned, regional-owned, and so on and so forth. And we also provide approval on certain interministerial programs regarding the implementation. And the last thing that we have been tasked as of this year, we are supposed to help in the context of digital transformation, which is something already ongoing. It has been ongoing since some time, actually, even before COVID. However, because of COVID, it's something that we are basically pushed much more into the digital direction because of this current situation. And our president, actually, that's to be seen in the next slide, the President Joko Widodo, it's his second term now, and this is his last term. In Indonesia, we have a term limit. The president can only be elected twice. After that, we have to find a new one. And that is designed in order to make sure that we have a healthy way to find a regeneration of the leadership. So basically, you can read it yourself. I read it, emphasize some of the things. Of course, internet infrastructure is important. We have to improve it. And it actually, point one also underlines the need for access, means also affordable access. So what happens right now is, since schools, there are a lot of schools which cannot go into offline teaching, meaning the traditional classroom teaching at the moment is not allowed, so they have to go online. So the problem with that is not only that the teachers are not used to doing that and the materials maybe not set up for that, but it is also the students. They don't have the right devices and they have to have an internet connection in their home, and some of that, the quality is not that good, or some cannot afford it at all. And so there is a large portion of the budget currently is allocated to subsidize internet access for certain activities of our people in Indonesia. And secondly, our task is basically to prepare the digital transformation roadmap, which is also ongoing since some time. And there's some sectors here you can see on the slide where there's a special emphasis on. Also, if you look, the third point is actually quite important to understand in Indonesian context. In Indonesia, ICT has been growing basically as an extension of the traditional office supply. So if you have a government office, and there were some people in the government office responsible for buying pens and paper, maybe photocopy machine, and suddenly they bought a computer. And so the computer in the beginning was seen as an extension of a typewriter. So you can basically write documents in a more productive, more efficient, effective manner. But suddenly those computers become connected with one another, and that changed the whole picture. Mean to say that before, the responsibility of the government office suddenly becomes one big government thing, and you have to have standardization, you have to have common interests, etc., etc. What does it mean? There needs to be more centralization of certain aspects of the ICT within the government. So one very dominant thing is that we see there's an ego-sectoral behavior of the government entities regarding their own data centers that they built up over the years. As of now, it is not allowed to have new data centers which are owned by government entities themselves. They have to be owned and operated and managed and maintained by one central government agency, which is right now in formation of the establishment. So by that, we make sure that the data that we have within the government becomes more coherent, becomes more precise. There's no overlap, there's no conflict within the data. What happens right now is we have data from Ministry X and Government Office B, Y, and it's actually supposed to be the same data, but it's not. If you look at the data, it's different. And so that causes a lot of confusion. And as we know, data, many people say this, data is the new oil. So basically the wealth of what is contained within data and what you can do out of the data is actually surpassing the wealth of something which was supposed to be the black gold for many, many decades, many hundreds of years, by far. If you look at the 10 largest companies in the world, I bet that more than 5 are IT companies, and maybe there's one energy company, and that's it. So data has definitely beaten oil as the most precious resource that we have on the planet. Then the fourth and fifth one is quite clear. If we want to do all these great plans, you can't do this without having the right people. You have to have digital talent. And of course, you need to fund the whole plan appropriately. Can I have the next slide? So we know just very quickly, this is maybe everybody knows this already, but this is, can I have the page number 6, please? Yes. So basically, I'm just referring to what's going on right now. I mean, we are in the so-called Industry 4.0, the so-called Internet revolution. In fact, what I need to point out here is the following. Computers were already around before Industry 4.0, but the difference between now and then, computer were more an extension of the usual office environment, doing it more efficiently, but now everything is connected. And that's basically the big difference. And that leads to the next slide, which is basically showing what kind of technologies we need to focus on in the so-called Industry 4.0 era. And basically, there's 4 categories, things related to connectivity, data, and computational power. Then secondly, analytics and intelligence, human-machine interface or interaction, and advanced engineering. I don't want to go into detail. This is just categorizing what kind of technologies we see actually as being very important in the so-called Industry 4.0 era. So now you go into the page number 8. So basically, if you look into the implementation, this is basically the flow. The initial connectivity needs to be there. Then we look into process optimization, look in the process flow and quality. And then as a result of that, and even before that, actually, we have to think about some new business models using the data that is basically at the base level of the development of new industries that come up are truly Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0 needs to be data-driven and data-based. So that's basically the basis of all new industries, or the restructuring of the existing industry becoming more aligned among the principles of Industry 4.0. Can I have the next slide? Now I jump fully into the topic. That was more like an appetizer, so everybody knows what is actually the tools, what is the environment, what is the vision of the world to be. Well, we have to develop to focus on the so-called UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I think I don't want to go here into detail. This is just a snapshot about what these are. So there are 17, and they address poverty, inequality, climate, etc. And they have to be accomplished by 2030. That's only another 10 years, not much time. So what is it to do with innovation? So can I have the next slide? So basically, innovation in business in general, or actually beyond business, innovation is shifting basically the economics of potential solutions and the timeline for delivery. Meaning to say, because we innovate, we can do things better, cheaper, faster, and in today's innovation is very much focused on using technology either available or in development or even anticipate. So innovation is therefore, it's not only important for business models and for the commercial sector, but it's actually important for things like the SDG. So my personal opinion, I think most people would agree with me that in order to really achieve those goals within these 10 years, we need to do innovation. We need to look at innovation as a crucial, as a central part of the process leading towards fulfilling those SDGs, not only in one part of the world, but in all parts, all over the world. And that is something I think very noble to do. For that, you need to, as already said, unleash the innovation. At the same time, it also reduces the total investment requirement. We need to mobilize capital for that across the ecosystem and the partnership. I think this is something which is part of innovation. If I add one word to it, the word open, basically open innovation or open data is a basic ingredient to achieve the target of SDG within the time given. We cannot, I mean, nobody can in these days, time and days, do things completely by themselves. No company, no country, the so-called interdependency and the collaboration cross-sectoral and cross-country is crucial to achieve many goals that otherwise would be very difficult to realize. And the so-called creating the new cross-sectoral partnerships, this is actually to leverage complementary strength. And by that, we need to actually, from the business sector, look to reshaping corporate strategy. Corporate strategy will be much more, I think, geared towards tilting from a so-called shareholder model, shareholder capitalism, more to a stakeholder. So the return of the capital is not only focused on return the money to the people that have invested into the company, but it's also the other form of capital that have been invested into the basic for the success of the company, not only in the form of money, but it's basically human capital, social capital, environmental capital. All of that needs a return. And if you look at the other forms of capital, because I mentioned the word capital so much because in today's world, it seems that capitalism is a system that is accepted. It's not a perfect solution, but it's maybe the best that we know at the moment. But what to do about capitalism? I mean, right now, the capitalism that we've seen has created a lot of discrepancies around the world. It has led to climate change. It has led to big social and economic divides. So we need to look at relook at capital. One thing that I mentioned already is the shift from shareholder to stakeholder capitalism, and also the word capital itself. It's not only the money you put into the company, but it's other forms of capital, only financial capital, human capital, environmental capital, social capital. All of that needs to have a return, and therefore that should reshape corporate strategy. And therefore this cross-sectoral partnership, if you redefine capitalism as we know it as of today, then there will be naturally new cross-sectoral partnership happening because every form of capital needs to see its return. Okay, can I have please 12, please? So this is basically talking a bit about how SDGs are looked upon in Indonesia. So we have a presidential regulation that basically stipulates that, and there's certain roles given to certain parts of our country and society. I'm referring here to the, can I go back on one slide to slide number 12, please? No, back. Okay, thank you. So basically, I'm referring to the so-called quadruple helix. Traditionally, the helix, how the three sectors within the society are intertwined with one another, like a DNA, that's why it's called a helix, is government, academia, and business. What in today's world, many people add a fifth, which is basically community and the media. And so we have a quadruple helix, and every part of that helix has its particular role. I mean, by and large, government, they give some targets, they develop the policy, academicians and experts, they increase capacity and they do some policy research. Community and media, they disseminate and do advocacy to the community and to the society at large. And business actually, they also increase further capacity and they do also research and they co-fund some of that. And I think, which is not written here, they also have to align the goals of the company with the goals of achieving SDGs, because it's actually helping the company to be successful in a longer run. It is sustainable, more sustainable. It's also sustainable development goals. So now I picked one goal on page number 13, just one, which is, I think, relevant for all of us. It's basically goal number 9, talking about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. This is just like a fact sheet, what we have in Indonesia. So this is basically showing the landscape. We have surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, it's quite clear that majority of the jobs, it's almost 90% plus, the work is micro, small, and medium-sized. This basically shows that also manufacturing is a very important part of the industry right now. It's delivering sometimes less, sometimes more than 20% of GDP, and it is a job multiplicator in other sectors. And so this is basically the situation in Indonesia. If we compare it to India, which is at the next slide, on slide number 14, India has basically come up with, I think, something very innovative. It's a so-called SDG India Index. And if you look on the right-hand side of the slide, can I have slide 14, please? Thank you. You see that I think who I'm to tell you, I mean, you probably know this because you are in India, but I mean, my team, when they did some research, they found this is a very interesting, approach to things. So basically, India has created this SDG India Index, and you see the green is basically the states within India that have actually achieved something quite okay. The yellow is probably on the way, but not quite there, and the red is more critical. So the index has actually spanned across 13 out of 17 SDGs, leaving out goals 12, 13, 14, and 17, and it keeps tracks the progress of all the state and union territories on a set of 62 national indicators. And if you look at India in goal number 9, basically again the industry, innovation, and infrastructure, which is on page 15, then you see that there's a similar situation in Indonesia. Like in Indonesia, the manufacturing sector actually is a very important as a multiplicator. So jobs created in the manufacturing sector tend to create more jobs, which is basically either in the supplying of the manufacturing with certain goods and services, or services built upon manufacturing, maybe to maintain maintenance and these kind of things. And so the goal of here is you can see build the resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Again, innovation is at the focus of things because innovation basically enables sustainable industrial and economic development. Can I have the page number 16? So this is basically how startups are sometimes seen, besides having the right innovative culture in order to bring solutions in a desired way, which is focused on quality, cost, and delivery, but also thinking out of the box. But in fact, page 16, please. The startup support also the achievement of the SDG. First of all, it creates jobs. The startups, startup reduce social tension because it includes people to focus on certain goals of the startup that are also helping the people that are working there in their own working life environment. It's a source of income for the state budget, and it's also spurring innovation and basically driving also competition. So basically, small businesses, startups in this regard, of course, if they're big, they still have actually the characteristic in many regards of a small startup, a small business, because they're nimble and they are quite flat in their organization, which is basically is a major reason why startups can actually be faster when it comes to innovation than larger companies because of the structure, and it sometimes has to do also something with the demographics. So the startups tend to have younger people in them. Startups tend to have also more enthusiastic people, because the people that work there in many cases are also the founders, or they are shareholders, etc. So there's a higher entrepreneurial drive to achieve the target rather than large corporations. So can I have the slide number 17, please? So this is what it is said basically. Now number 17, which basically talks about the top 100 emerging startup ecosystems. What I mean right now is basically the startup ecosystems that are not Silicon Valley, they are not Shenzhen, they are not Stockholm, but there are other cities in other countries outside that. So if you look on page 17, it is interesting to see that this study came up with 2 cities that are number 1 and 2, and one is Mumbai and the second one is Jakarta. And so you can see that both our countries have actually quite remarkable achievement when it comes to startup ecosystem. So for us, it should be very motivating to see that our countries are actually very aligned to be successful, to do many things in the startup ecosystem, but among others, of course, also delivering the achievement of SDGs, because startups are always built around challenges. I mean, what kind of challenge, what kind of problem do we face that needs a solution? And the founders of startups, to the best of my experience and knowledge, are always actually focused on the challenge. It's startups, of course, you need to make it feasible, but the main reason to establish a startup is always the idealism, the focus, the motivation of the entrepreneur to want to find a solution for a particular problem or challenge. And I think both our countries need that kind of a spirit very much in order to be successfully delivering and achieving the SDGs in our countries within the time given. So basically, now shifting to page 18, can you hear me? Okay, this is basically what I meant before. So the top 100 emerging startup ecosystems. And now also what I said before regarding in page 18, the need for innovation is actually much more underlying than just the SDG. SDG, after 2030, we have another term, and probably some of the SDGs are not truly fulfilled, or we have another level of fulfillment. But what remains is basically what I call, or we all know as the so-called megatrends. This, we cannot do away with achieving anything like the SDG. This remains. And you can see on the page number 18 that there's 5 that I identified here, and this is very underlying, and it will be there in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, in 100 years. We are facing rapid urbanization. That is a given. There is something like climate change, for the good or for the worse, and resource scarcity. We have a continuous shift of global economic power in the world. Right now, in the last years, we had a standoff, or basically a trade war between 2 large countries, one being across the Pacific and one on our side of the Pacific. And that has caused a lot of need for innovation, because you have to work around many things that came on the market, that certain constellations were not possible to continue the same way as before because of the situation. Demographic and social change is number 4, which is also continuously changing. I mean, countries like in the northeast of Asia, they become grayer and grayer. Countries like in India and Indonesia, we have an enormously young population, which has totally different wills and wants in older countries. And that brings a lot of pressure for change. And social change is needed, and it's driven by demographics. And the last thing that I identified is we always have technological breakthroughs. Now is maybe the internet with all its reverberations, looking at AI, at cryptocurrency, at blockchain, at what have you. This is today. In another 5 to 10 years, we have something else. But we will always have challenges, global megatrends, that there's always going to be technological breakthrough. In my own prediction, the pace of getting more and more technology breakthroughs will be increased. Why? Because what we are facing right now is the world of hyper information. We have so much information right now. It's good for creating innovation. Of course, it has its own problems by confusing a lot of people and creating polarization in the world, because sometimes the world of hyper information is misused to drive certain ways and developments which are wanted by certain interest groups. But basically, that is something that's part of technology breakthrough. So now my last slides here is I personally see the new economy in the Industry 4.0 is basically that large industries are going to be more and more platforms. So the true innovation happens actually below that in so-called small and medium-sized enterprises. And also the meaning of asset-based industries is going to be less. I'm not saying that there will be the asset by itself will have no significance. Yes, it's important to have assets, but it is also very possible to grow companies very, very large without having assets. And how does it work? Well, I've given some examples here on page number 19. We know a company like Netflix, which is basically you can define as a large media house or movie house, but they own no cinemas. The Uber as a taxi company, you can basically describe it like that, but they don't own one taxi. So in order to grow something big, what does it mean actually? You see that this big company is basically a platform. But if you describe the taxi owner, or maybe there's one guy or one lady who owns more than one taxi or one car, they basically become the contractor of those. And they are small, medium-sized enterprises which can collaborate with the large industries. And if you own only one car, you're basically a company by yourself. But it's basically the distribution of asset and making it work it's a different balance, like in the old world, like in Industry 3.0. So this is basically a new economy principle, Industry 4.0, that all of us need to pay attention to. And it will also play a role how we can envision to find solutions, innovative based and startup based for SDGs. And now really the last slide is on slide number 20. If you look at, we need to be also aware about the fact that entrepreneurship and technology plays an important role. There's always the chain. Can you please go one slide back to between science, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And it's all about being aware about the fact that there's an iterative process to bring something from an idea to an industry. Again, this is important for SDG as well, because we need to apply the industrialization process to any solution of SDG. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. If it doesn't, it's not sustainable. You have to prove it in the market. Is it really sustainable on its own, or does the government or any other third party have to continually pump money into it? That's not sustainable. It needs to be sustainable, and therefore the asset test is not to have a good idea, to create a prototype that works, but to apply it in an industrial way in order to find out, is it a sustainable solution or not? And this is going to be an iterative process. And I think this is basically what will be something to be applied to true sustainable solution regarding those development goals. So the last slide is here basically just to sum up, ICT has a strong role. Digital capabilities need to be strengthened. This is very important, the talent, and governments need to support, but also to control the growth of startups. Startups can be a solution to achieve the SDGs. Thank you very much. This is where you can find us, the National ICT Council from Indonesia. And if you want to download some of our documents, you can download it there. Unfortunately, it's in Indonesian, but in today's world, I think language is not a barrier anymore. It can be easily translated. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Hobibie. A very insightful presentation, and I am very sure we will share it with the industry here. You know, the thoughts which you mentioned about, you know, moving on to being a stakeholder in startups and companies from shareholder, the shift is something very critical and beautifully defined.
Yes.
You know, along with the elaborative knowledge you shared with us today. And I'll just sum up with one quick question I have, if you are happy to,
sure.
take it, is that, you know, How do you see understanding the similarity in culture of Indonesia and India? How do you see, more startups and more partnerships happening and more stakeholders both ways coming together? Any quick comments on that?
Yes. Well, personally, I've seen an analysis by a large US-based headhunting firm. And they predicted in the year 2030s, all countries in the world will have deficiencies in talent, which is needed to fully embrace and enroll and roll out Industry 4.0, except one country, and that's India. Even China will have not enough, and that is, I was also asking, why China? China has so many people, but it's because of the one-child policy. They still have a deficiency for young people. They are not in the demography is different. And the graying process of the society is extremely fast. So what I see where Indonesia and India should collaborate is particularly in the education sector. There's something that we in Indonesia can learn from India. Other things that I see is you mentioned the cultural affinity. Well, Indonesia is a country that has had contact and exchanges and trade and visits from India to Indonesia and vice versa for centuries. So as Indians come to Indonesia, they'll find themselves almost at home. It's a very similar in many regards. It's not the same, but there's a lot of similarity, I think, which makes it easy to work together because there's a certain code of ethics and conduct that we share. Then also from I think if you look at the history of the recent years, I think India and Indonesia are basically in the post-World War II era are known to be countries that have been by and large actually so-called the bloc free. We are not really East, we're not really West, we are ourselves, and we believe that the strong South-South cooperation coordination will help us to become a better country and to also help the rest of the world to advance. So I think in that regard that there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, the fact of the matter is there's a lot of Indian companies already here in Indonesia more and more. There's also a lot of Indian people that live in Indonesia. Some of them have become Indonesian already, or they have dual citizenship. It's really, I see a very bright future between India and Indonesia.
So looking forward, Dr. Hobibie, to work together under your guidance, and we heartily thank Mr. Nalin for helping us with this wonderful session and giving us an opportunity to host you. And we look forward to have your visit at our university.
I would love to come, definitely.
Yes.
You will see me there when the situation gets better with the COVID. I think maybe in the next year, it should be okay. Next year.
Look forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I say goodbye there. I will just have to join another meeting, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, audience. Thank you very much, wonderful students. We have a whole bunch of, wonderful talent from Chitkara University, enjoying this conclave. We started with the founder of Nearby, Ankur Warikoo, a die-hard entrepreneur, an advocate of entrepreneurship. And then we met a stalwart, a technologist, Dr. Ilham A, a leader in Indonesia, and somebody who's driving the incubation ecosystem in the wonderful, culturally savvy and deep-rooted, country with similar Indian values, Indonesia. Well, we have a very interesting, story. We have one of our local entrepreneurs who made it so big, and he's now popular all over India. And it is an honor for the university to invite, and I'm very sure students, most of you would know him and can connect with him. And it is an honor to welcome somebody who is an entrepreneur by heart, who has the jazba and the passion to build an enterprise in a very short time and do it very right. Ladies and gentlemen, students, I'm talking about Mr. Sanam Kapoor. Welcome, Sanam. Sanam, how are you doing today? Hi, Sanam, how are you doing today? Hope you can hear me.
It's a pleasure for me to join this wonderful morning with you all.
Thank you, Sanam. Students, Sanam is the founder of Pino'z Pizza. It's a pizza chain, and it has given tough competition, and I think it's leading now in India, and hopefully it's going to spread all over the world very soon. We would love to have a fireside chat with Sanam. So Sanam, here is my first question. What were you doing before starting Pino'z?
Sorry?
What were you doing before starting Pino'z?
I am actually a BTech. I did my BTech from YMCA Faridabad in Electronics and Telecom Engineering. So that was 2004-2008 batch. And post that, I was working with Tulip Telecom as a network engineer. And again, after that, I was working with HCL Technologies as a technical specialist, taking care of EFH and Volvo in Noida. So it was a good work, although, but post that, I decided to start. I left my job in 2010, came back to Chandigarh. I didn't have any plans to do anything. I mean, I actually wanted to do something in food. So tried out my hands in like a lot of brands, but things didn't work out. I I landed up into a pizza because I was like really fond of pizza. So I thought, let's start a small sector where I can actually be the owner of my own product. And actually, my concept was giant pizza slices. So in 2011, there were barely people serving giant and monster pizzas. So started in 2011, first out in Sector 9, Chandigarh. So that was a takeaway joint, which was just 120 square feet. And it was December 2010 when we started the work, and January 17th, 2011, we started our first outlet. That was the formal launch. And my mindset was purely just I just wanted to run my own family. I just wanted to come back to Chandigarh. I wanted to do something for myself, my parents, and that was only my because I was working with HCL and there was a biased culture there, so I felt it would be better going back home and doing something for myself. So that's how it started.
Oh, brilliant. So it is, very much, inspiring for the students who are watching and listening to you, because they are students, they're doing BTech and they're doing other courses, and there is you who were a student and now you went through the professional journey in a job, and then you took up your clarion call to build your own enterprise. And when you said 120 square feet small, pick up, pizza takeaway joint, I would say that we have customers to your service and we thoroughly enjoy it. And Sector 9 is a very famous place where your first location, where your council is located and your delivery office is located. So my next question is, how tough was to gather money to start this? Or did your parents give you money, or friends give you money, or you have earned it through your job and put that money in your business?
The journey when we started, it was a little haywire, I would say. There was a little crunch with finances, and me and one of my friends, we decided to start jointly. But the moment we started this venture, he said, "I won't be able to join you. Constraints." It was me who started the whole show, and of course, my parents helped me a lot. The funds were sponsored by my parents. I started with the initial funding of around 15 lakh. That was done by my father. So 15 lakh is actually converted into a big number now. So the journey was good, and it was actually a tough journey. I was very new for the business. I didn't want to join my father's business, so I thought I would do something for myself. So that's how it started. The business.
So why pizza? Did you I understand you mentioned you're a foodie. So why only pizza? And you're still doing very well in that. You didn't change the product line and other services.
I actually wanted to take some franchise of some good brand. I had a long time back, I had a word with CBTL. So they were looking for big investment. So it was not my pie investing 1 crore or 1.5 crore. I was not having that funds. So post that, I had a word with few of the local burger chains. Then I thought of starting my own burger brand. But finally landed into a pizza. It was just, something which I was not having in my mind. But yes, my final call, okay, I'll go with pizzas. Let's do pizza. So it was something very open and very flat.
Perfect. So you are, your pizza is a craze here on campus. When in a normal routine, the students and staff, they flock into your, outlet which we have on campus. So the question which comes to my mind is that how many pizza locations you have of Latinos now in the country?
Right now, we are at 176 location operational, and by the end of December, we'll be closing around 210 locations. So 210 outlets across North, West, and South, and 2 at East, which is Kolkata, and around 225 outlets by March we are looking at.
Brilliant. And this all happened, this whole journey from 1 to 200 plus happened in how much period of time?
See, we started in 2011. I was not aware about the franchisee concept. We learned here and then. And in 2013, we started giving the franchisee. The first two, three franchises didn't work well because of the structure was not concrete, I would say. So we actually planned to change the whole setup. I mean, the pizza machines, the kind of commercial we used to have with the franchises. So we changed on everything. We worked on the shortcomings of the franchisee model and we fixed every part of it. And we moved on with the fresh model in 2014. And the model we created was a master franchisee model. First master franchisee we created in 2015. Like by 2013 and between 2015, we had around only 15 outlets. And post 2015, we opened best of 150, 155 outlets. In the last 5 years, journey was a little different.
So you hit your century after 2015. And if somebody wants to have a master franchisee, what is the kind of investment and the effort one has to do? What is eligibility?
Master franchisee, we need someone who can actually be a participant at the work. We do not want investors. We want someone who can work with us as a partner for a specific location, and that person would be having beautiful financial output once they're part of Latinos. So the startup, for any master franchisee, the person who's looking for a master franchise, he should have something around 1.5 crore with 2 to 3 locations, which he can start himself. And post that, we give him a right to sub-franchise the location in his own territory. So it starts with the investment of over 1 to 1.5 crores.
Okay. So Sanam, you said it was not easy, it was a rough ride in the beginning, especially from 2011 to 14. What are the challenges you faced while during this pandemic? 7, 8 go down or it went up?
We, when we, in March, we were doing good numbers. Post that, we surely had big challenges because all the locations were shut down because of this COVID situation. So post COVID, we have actually, changed the whole business model for the franchise. It was very expensive model. It was the starting investment for one outlet was around 50 lakh. Now we have reduced that investment to 35 lakh. So that's why we are coping up with the market environment. And yes, the kind of taste we are serving, kind of product we are serving, customers, they are the first preference. Person who is looking for a business model, we choose our franchisee partner from our customers.
So apart from pizza, what sells more? What have you diversified in your menu? Are you innovating in the food business?
Our menu is a mix of American food and a Mexican food. We've got tacos, we've got quesadillas, we've got pastas, we've got pizzas, we've got chocolate. We are more into a QSR format, quick service restaurant. So primarily in Chandigarh, we are having a takeouts, but also Chandigarh, we are having dine-ins.
Right. How tough is it to deal with competitors and how much you have to be on a watch all the time? Even though you are a leader now, a pioneer, about to touch 200, outlets.
We are always on our toes when we are at work. We are looking at the competition very closely. What kind of services they are providing, what kind of product they are providing, what kind of strategies they are following. So we always have a planning for to cut the competition there and then. So talking about competition, we compare ourselves with Pizza Hut and Domino's, although their store strength is slightly bigger, quite bigger, I would say. But wherever Pino'z is located, we are giving a tough time for them. They're having tough time. So in that way, I'm saying, I mean, the sale numbers, it is at par Domino's. Pizza Hut doesn't stand anywhere.
Great, great. So you started with 15 lakh rupees with the help from your father, and your partner backed out before the flight would take off. So students or youngsters who don't have the parents giving them this amount of money, don't give them this financial support, what are the options for them? What are your suggestions?
I mean, banking would surely be a right place where the person can lend some money. Bank is the right place. And of course, parents, if they support, that would be the best. I mean, that's the only place we can get the money. Bank loan is the best.
Great. No, great, wonderful. You know, we have a lot of students from engineering and technology, coding, computer science engineering. Let's talk about technology. When did you realize that technology was very important to bring into your business for ordering, for service?
Surely, around 2 years back, we started our technology work. Earlier, we were more into quality. We were more into, I mean, the value of the product. And in last 2 years, we are primarily working on the technology. So we have our own application. We are working on the digital marketing and third-party marketing. So that is the main. I mean, like in last 2 years, we have transformed Pino'z into a technology product, and we are working on it strongly.
Wonderful. And how much out of your entire annual budget goes to technology?
6%, 5 to 6%.
5 to 6%.
5 to 6%.
And you know how tough has been to deal with the staff, the cooks, the labor, you know, the delivery boy, the logistics, the people who do delivery.
We have some hiring partners, so they help us in hiring the team. So we have a training session going on at the back end. So we give them values, why this work is important. We surely give them security and surety where they can grow at Pino'z. Their future is secure, their future is safe. They can, if they're investing their time, they're investing their faith and trust in Pino'z. So we definitely take care of them, their families, and their salaries and financials, everything. So that's how, I mean, like our senior team, which is like of around 20 people, they are half of the day they spend with the team members only. I mean, the riders or the cashiers or the pizza makers. We actually put a lot of energy in them, where we tell them that the show will be run by you only. You are the owners of this brand. So they are actually giving a lot of time to Pino'z. I mean, like 10 hours or 12 hours working.
So the sense of ownership.
Yes, the sense of ownership.
Right.
And these people are actually giving a lot of time to Pino'z, I would say. And primarily the main challenge we face at working is handling the team is little difficult, I would say, definitely.
So since it's a fireside chat and you're a man of few words, so we're loving the conversation. My next two questions are, the first one is, what are the two things for anybody to start a food business or an outlet or a fast food business? Two things which one should do.
First is, one should be purely committed to the quality of the product, and second should be the customer possession. That really works well. If your customer is liking your product, you should be enticed towards the quality and you should be enticed towards the service. So quality and service plays a very big role.
Okay, and what are the two things one should not do when you start a food business?
Don't cheat your product. People usually start their product with the best quality ingredients, and once they grow up, they change to the cheaper ones. So, which is actually when where they see the fall. So, if they put up their energy into keeping the product quality to the top, that really works well. And handling staff and grooming them makes your work easy, I would say.
Right. So you believe in educating them and you believe in giving them regular training.
Playing with quality are the two factors.
So the USP of Pino'z has been quality, and the benchmark has been the training for the staff and to perform at the optimum level of their ability. Right. Yeah. So what is the team structure right now? Are you alone or you have more founders and partners with you?
I am the only owner at Pino'z, but yes, at the senior management team, we have around 20 people.
Okay.
Every state master franchisee is our partner. and they play a very big role. So they are the owner of their specific state, I would say. So we have around 14 master franchises and 20 senior team members at our office. And total strength at Pino'z is around 3,500 people.
Perfect. So it looks like a very bootstrapped venture, which you scaled it to untouchable heights, I would say. But were there any challenges when there was a financial crunch and you thought of raising capital or having raised capital? Talk about the financial challenges, please, if you can, a little bit.
And maybe I was a little more lucky, I would say. Since day one, when we started Pino'z in Sector 9, Chandigarh, we have seen a big time furore at outlets. So people from day one, they are liking the product since the quality was good. It was a talk of a town since we started in 2011. So I would say I have not seen any kind of financial crunch in the last 10 years. It has just grown up and it is just building further.
Right. The takeaway culture is picking up, and it all started, I believe, when McDonald's walked into our country alone. What are your thoughts on that? How lucrative and more feasible it is, especially respecting the time we are passing through these days, is the takeaway business for food delivery?
I mean, the kind of population we have in India, it's immense. So, and the kind of pocket they have, it's little small, I would say. So, QSR format, quick service restaurant, it really works well. And where you can give the value, I mean, you have gentry around, you've got volumes around, only then you can grow. If you're just focused on a specific kind of customer, maybe a niche customer, a person who is fond of a spicy food or a person who is fond of a sweeter food, I would say. So in that way, it would be difficult for any startup to survive, especially in food industry. So you should have a profile at work, at the menu side first, where you can serve a big gentry, every class of customer. I mean, the working class, I mean, the niche people, or a person who has a budget of around 50 rupees or 100 rupees. So every kind of category, one should be focused if they are entering the food menu.
Right. Were there any moments in your experience and your journey where you had shortage of the material, the food material, which you compile to make the final product? That's your pizza. And how did you manage it if there was any challenges?
When we started, we used to have a lot of secret ingredients which we used to put in our pizza. Like our dough was very special. We used to put some special ingredients in that. Then we used to make our sauce, pizza sauce ourselves, which we used to call it conquese. It was a very mild sauce, light flavor with some fresh herbs. So we started with that. But once we grew with a lot of franchises, so we decided to take the setup the back end, and we have a tie-up with a lot of third-party companies where they are making a genetic product for us, and we are amplifying the whole setup to every state and every location. So that's how we are able to cope up with the quality, service, and consistency.
So there are wonderful. So there are a lot of management students, and when you talk about customers, can you give any 2 or 3 tips on how to retain a customer?
To retain a customer, one should be very loyal towards customer. I mean, the loyalty works really well. You have to understand what kind of mindset the customer is having and the person is walking to your store. Sometimes I see people, they are aggressive. So you need to have a calm behavior where you can handle that situation. And of course, you should be very flexible in holding and maintaining the customer mindset. That really works well. If you get aggressive as an entrepreneur or as a startup or as a outlet owner or as a businessman, then things will gel well with customer. So you have to understand the customer need, and there and then you have to reciprocate to them. So that's how the whole structure works.
Brilliant. And I'm sure, you're in food business. It has its ups and downs, and it has its, incentives and downfalls also, I would say, shortcomings, I would say. But how do you handle complaining customers? See, your personality looks like you handle them very well. But how does your team and all do you handle complaining customers?
I am primarily at the back foot right now, but I have some good people who have good communication skills, of course. They understand the customer query. So primarily, at Pino'z, if there's any kind of issue or any kind of customer complaint, we would definitely want to fix it there and then without having a second thought. If there's a gap from our side or there's a gap from customer side, we would want to fix it by any means. So we are very, very flexible because we want to retain the customer and we want to be the, the customer should be at Pino'z at any which ways. So that's the only way we work. So, what really works well, if you understand customer and if you listen to them and if you say, yes, whatever you're doing is right, to some extent, of course, you can actually maintain and retain your customers.
Yeah, so you have to be flexible and yet be firm in what you're dealing with. So coming to the last 5 minutes of our conversation, we have certain show of hands. Let me go and see who all are these students, and we can then unmute them, and they will have the questions for you. Shall we?
Yeah.
Please, technology with me. Students who have raised their hands to ask questions. Just a second. And we will just see if there are certain. So we have some 7 around students, but right now looks like there's some, they're just delayed. May I ask any students have any questions for Mr. Sanam Kapoor at the moment? All right, okay. So we will definitely share we have around 7 students, but we'll definitely share once we, post session, we can email Sanam or connect them with you, Sanam. But here we have Nikhil Singh. Can we unmute Nikhil Singh? Nikhil Singh asking a question. One second. Nikhil Singh. All right, there's some technical issue. Anyway, Sanam, thank you very much. It was such an honor to have you come to our forum and the platform of Chitkara. We are very humbled, to have your wonderful and very valuable time to come and talk to us about the wonderful over 1,000 students here attending the session. So look forward to have you on campus someday soon and come and interact with our startup ecosystem. You are an inspiration, and words won't help. Well, few words won't help, describe your journey and your success. So thank you very much. It's an honor. Thank you.
It's a really pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are requesting the students to be on standby. There is a 10-minute tea break, and we come on to a wonderful panel where we have 3 startups who made it big from Chitkara University, and right now they are, really commercially scaling very high, and they are very successful. We have with us China, who has outlets of tea cafes all around India. Yesterday only we came to know they set up a outlet in Bangalore. Last month they did one in Delhi, and they have 3 centers in Tri-City, Chandigarh, Mohali, and Panchkula. And we have Gaurav Goyal, founder of Anukai Solutions, somebody who is dealing in traffic management systems and works with the government. Done pretty good job. I would say, is regularly in news for the good work they are doing with the traffic teams in the state of Punjab and Haryana. We have with us the 3rd startup, which is we are very proud of, is in education technology. That is a startup called SchoolPad, and scaled to amazing heights with over 150 employees. Was a student like you who took up to the passion of becoming an independent entrepreneur and being your own boss type of a feeling he had, and he wanted to do it right. He took the plunge after doing a job, something similar what we heard Ankur Warikoo. He did jobs and then he went on to become an entrepreneur. So we have a very interesting session coming up, and in 10 minutes we rejoin and go into a panel. Please prepare your questions, and we'll definitely connect you with the panelists. So see you in a bit. Good afternoon, panelists. Thank you for joining us. We'll be just starting in another 5 minutes. The time is 12:10, and we'll just join in 5 minutes. And thank you for your patience, students and panelists. Thank you. Good afternoon. After a very exciting first pre-noon sessions we had, starting with Ankur Warikoo, founder of Nearby, a blistering session we had with him, and then we had Dr. Ilham Hobibie, an international personality from Indonesia, the chairman of the ICT Council of Indonesia, man behind the upcoming 3,000 incubation centers across Indonesia, a big country. What an insightful presentation he gave. And then we had our local hero, Sanam Kapoor from Pino'z, and a fireside chat with him. We had 3 interesting sessions, and we just took a 10 minutes break, and now we are back to meet our Chitkara heroes, our Chitkara entrepreneurs, who have sailed through tough times and interesting times, and have done so well in their career in a very short span of time. And the session is about success stories of Chitkara alumni entrepreneurs. So I'm very happy to introduce them one by one. We have a big chunk of students right now attending this session, over 600, 550 plus, and more adding to the number. Let me introduce the stalwart of Chitkara University, who we mentioned time and again in our conversations and our mentoring sessions. As a reference, I'm talking about a young, budding, handsome young man from New Delhi who built his base in Chandigarh. And the name of the gentleman is Abhiraj Bulabra. So let's welcome Abhiraj. He's the founder of SchoolPad, and SchoolPad is an education edtech startup we started with the support of Chitkara University and the management. And this is how students, I would like to tell you, how the university builds around the wonderful cushions for you in terms of giving you some grant, in terms of giving you space, in terms of giving you mentoring. And now, with these last 4-5 years, we have been able to be the university which has a very stronger mentoring process, which is very structured. So the funds are in place. If you have the might, we have VCs ready to do pre-series, angel investment, so small amounts and grants from the government. So a lot of support is now there. Unlikely these 3 gentlemen who, took on to the tougher path and made it very big. It is a story of conviction and determination. Let us listen from them. And moving on from Abhiraj, I move on to Gaurav Goel. He was a IME scholar and a faculty, and he built on a company called Anukai Solutions Private Limited. Hi Gaurav, how are you? Nice to see you.
Hello sir, hello, how are you?
Very good, nice to see you. And we'll come on to you guys. And Gaurav, only change in Gaurav right now is he's kept a beard. So that's the only change. Otherwise, he's the same chap, doing pretty well. And he's into traffic management system. It is a tech startup, totally tech, AI based, artificial intelligence based. And more on that he'll explain. And he's done pretty very well. He's commercially a success. He's working with the Punjab state government. I referred about him while I was talking to our previous speaker. We have with us a very, bubbly man full of positive energy, who's always on the fly, want to do something, like he's always wanting somebody to listen to him, and it's interesting to listen to him. People like me who have been listening all the while. So we have gathered an amount of patience, and there is no, sort of, I would say, regret listening to this wonderful gentleman who's bubbling with ideas. And just 2 years back, in his 4th year, he came up with an idea that I want to set up outlets and kiosks of selling tea in a very Indian traditional way, along with, some, cookies and some other, wonderful stuff in his menu, which he kept on building with a due course of time. So, Devam Madhva, founder of China Tea. Hi, Devam.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. So, hello, Abhiraj. How are you doing?
Good, absolutely fine.
And
thanks for having me here. Thanks for having me here.
It's an honor. And I must tell the audience that right now I believe Abhiraj is sitting at Chitkara Incubation Center, which is a new incubator built by the Chitkara University. It's our 4th incubation center in the heart of Mohali city, very near to International School of Business, ISB Mohali. And that's how the Chitkara ecosystem is, and the footprints and the pug marks are there. We are expanding our ecosystem, and these 3 wonderful gentlemen are an example of it. So with that note, I'll request my panelists to, we have 20-30 minutes to be very precise in their answers, but they can make their answers interesting. Let us start from, firstly, let's start from Abhiraj. So Abhiraj, how did you become an entrepreneur? I understand you left your job, and what were you doing after your university quickly, and then how did you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I basically, I passed out in 2008, and then I got campus placed in this company called Infosys. Just before that also, I was building technical stuff. So myself doing all the technology stuff, not anymore though, but yes, that's how I started. And after the campus placement, I think since I was already doing something of my own, the campus placement really helped. And that was one thing that was again a big challenge for me, because generally in our culture, if you get campus placed and you get a job, it is very difficult to convince your parents to do something of your own. So that's the first time I think the mentorship helped a lot, because there were certain people in the top management who really helped me take a decision whether to go for it or not. And at that time, I couldn't figure out whether it is right or wrong. I just heard them, and then whatever I felt, they helped me decide, and then I went through. And I think those 2 years that I spent there has really helped me a lot now, which I'm able to connect, joining the dots back, because a lot of things that I learned, not just the technology part, but generally building a company, building teams, how teams work, how teams work across geographies and all that stuff. I don't think I would be able to do, would have been able to do so much to this extent without that support. It would have taken me even longer. So that was the first time that mentorship helped a lot. And then finally, when I came back, I had certain ideas. I worked here and there, and then again, the mentorship, and even like we started with the Chitkara school, which was the first one. And that's where we also got a pilot customer. So that's again where the mentorship and help came in, and that's how we piloted our product. And we saw a playground and things were working well, and we went to a couple more schools, they were ready to pay, and then we thought there is something, there's a business out here, and that's how we built, that's how we started. So I was always keen to do it, but yes, the mentorship helped me do it much more faster and made it really simple for me, mentorship and maybe the infrastructure, the ecosystem, to make a choice, make a decision, because generally these decisions are difficult, especially when you belong to a middle class family. And so, that's what the journey has been.
So you didn't think too much, but you took a call, and you value the mentorship, which cut short your period of growth. That's right?
Exactly.
Right. So Abhiraj, tell our audience, let's put this question in Hindi. SchoolPad karta kya hai? और उसके customers कौन?
SchoolPad is an online internet software that we provide to schools, which basically helps them automate their entire operations. जो भी वो school में करते हैं, it makes it very easy for them with the help of technology and the internet. They're able to do a lot of their stuff in a much more easier and faster way, more efficient way. And at the same time, our mission was actually to help the teachers inside and keep parents more involved. So we thought the technology could be a big enabler for teachers, students, teachers and school management to keep parents involved. Parents are busier than ever, and I think with the kids we have today, parental involvement is a big thing. And we thought it can only happen if we have something wherein teachers or schools can reach out to parents frequently, and a piece of technology could help them a lot. So that is what SchoolPad does. It is basically a platform that we provide to schools to enable them to do all this stuff.
Brilliant. We will come to discuss more on that. Let me talk to Devam. Devam, how are you doing?
Hello, sir. How are you? I'm fine, sir.
Now you have multiple locations. Are you in Delhi or Bangalore?
Yes, sir. We're opening a fast.
Where are you?
Sir, I'm at my home right now.
Good. Yeah. That's safe. That's safe. So Devam, please tell us, how did you start? In a very nice way, quick way. How did you start your journey? And I hope
I belong.
Yeah, please.
Yes, I belong from a service class family, and as every parents wants their child to be a engineer, and in third year of mine, I think I met you and I tell you about my idea. And when my friends are getting placed, and even I was thinking कि हाँ मेरे सारे दोस्त place हो रहे हैं, now it's my time to get placed. But that time I thinking of the startup of a chai, and suddenly I got placed in Gurgaon with a decent package. And after that, basically I went there just for the learning part, to learn how to manage the team, how to speak English, because I'm a Haryanvi boy and I don't know how to speak English that time. But yes, I learned a little bit. And after that, I told my parents that I want to start my chai startup. So firstly, they're shocked that कि chai का business करना है. और same my friends are saying that you are earning very great. बच्चों की placements नहीं हो रही और आप चाय का काम शुरू करना चाहते हैं. And many people make me fun of this also कि यार तू convener था university में, you have a lot of talent of sports, these kind of things, but तू चाय का काम करना है. So, but I was totally focused, and in one way, I left my job, and like I met you and discussed about my idea, and you gave me the best mentoring, and plus you make me on the track ki haan, this is the way you want to work. And gracefully Chitkara University and you, Madhu ma'am, always helped me to give me platforms, different platforms. Firstly, I started with a pilot project in incubator, where there are lots of people. I serve everyone different varieties of tea, where I learned about my like managing of team, varieties of, and hopefully I think you all see my hard work and gave me the next place of Rajpura, which is the, I think, biggest step for me, and where I sale in lakhs. And it's for me, getting a sale in lakhs is a very big thing. Then I get a second step in Baddi University. Then after I get a franchises from different cities.
So how many franchises you have? How many franchises you have now?
So now we have 6 franchises working and 7 in the row. It's in the big places like Agra, Varanasi, Patiala, Bangalore, Delhi, Dehradun. So these are the great places that I got.
So पूरे इंडिया को आप लगता है चाय पिलाने वाले, right? Is that correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes. You know, meeting me is not that important. It's like meeting. We represent the university, and it is an honor to help you. You know, and see that how you are, the smile on your face, all of you, and how you've done. So you started leaving. Not you didn't take up a job, or you had an offer, and then you went on to build your first outlet at the university. And you have a lot of outlets now, right? So what do? You sell chai there? What do you do? Or you sell something else also?
Yes, we have a lot of things in the menu, because there are some brands like my competitors which are just focusing on the chai. So my like opinion in that is, if I want to open a chai brand in tier 2 city where there are not lots of corporate sectors and many people on the road, like in Mumbai there are lots of traffic, Bangalore it's a lot of traffic, lots of people. But if you want to open the city like tier 2 cities like Muradabad, Yamunanagar, so you need some different kind of food varieties also. So I went to different states. I went to Mumbai, Gujarat, these kind of different states, and then got different food variety for the people. That is very new in like these days in the market. So I think that is the thing people interact with.
Diversified, and you went very regional, and then you improved your menu and had a better spread, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's good. You know, we have around, I think, 850 students. Your session is getting exciting. So you can invite them to come on campus, and when they come to your outlet, you know. So anyway, wonderful, great guy. You know, let's go to Gaurav. Gaurav, what do you do? You are too techy. So explain us in simple words. What do? Do you stop the traffic, or you make the traffic move?
Definitely, we are going to make it move, sir.
How do you make it move? Tell us, please.
So, sir, Anukai develops smart integrated traffic management solutions. We, in a very crisp way, use artificial intelligence. हम देखते हैं कितना ट्रैफिक है, एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट हम जो लाइट के टाइमर्स है वो सेट करते हैं. तो अगर कम गाड़ियां हैं तो ग्रीन लाइट कम मिलेगा, ज्यादा गाड़ियां हैं ग्रीन लाइट ज्यादा मिलेगा, इन अ वेरी नटशेल वे. And if our system is installed in consecutive nodes, मतलब एक के बाद एक junction पे है, आप speed limit पे drive कर रहे हो, you would get consecutive green lights. So this is how we are solving the problem of traffic congestion.
And is it a device which you have innovated? Is the device?
Yeah, it's a in-house developed patented device जो अनुका ने develop करा है, and we install it at every traffic junction. It is a AI enabled edge power device. हमें internet की जरूरत नहीं है basically to run our computation. So that is our key USP. So whatever
So
we
it automatically senses the kind of nature of traffic, the density or no density.
exactly
And then behaves accordingly.
Yeah, it uses CCTV cameras to do that. CCTV say it uses the images, and again our USP is we do not require a very heavy CCTV footage. हम एक 800 रुपए के कैमरा से भी हमारा सिस्टम चल जाता है.
So how difficult was it to convince the government to integrate the cameras with you? Let me come to a very key question. Yeah.
You to अभी बोला आपने कि I've kept my beard. ये वहीं waiting में ही है. Government convincing is like very hard. But
they are your client now.
No, मैं वहीं आ रहा हूँ. 6 घंटे की waiting अब reduce 30 minutes पे हो गई है. So we are now into the correct offices, and we know how to talk to them, and they are convinced now.
Very nice.
Punjab is we have got 2-3 big work orders from Punjab. We're going Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, everywhere. So
you're working with state governments and the UTs.
Yeah, state governments and their respective municipal corporations who actually look after the traffic systems.
Wonderful. Now my next question is common for all of you. We'll again do the same round. We'll have Abhiraj answer it in a very simple way. Our audience would like to know, what is your business model? How do you make money?
So we have a subscription model. We sell the product to the school, and they pay us on a monthly, quarterly basis, whatever is convenient to them. And it is a cloud-based software. Internet पे चलता है, तो हर महीने, हर quarter में वो हमें पैसा देते हैं, which is like a recurring thing. So it keeps going. The terminology we use is software as a service. So that's basically our business model.
That's basically okay. Nice. So like I have a cable TV and I pay monthly subscriptions, so that's how something like your model, you use a service by a vendor and you pay for that service. Is that correct? That's what you do?
Exactly.
And it's tech enabled and it has a defined sector education, right?
Correct. We sell it to schools, only to schools across India. That's how we plan to go forward. We have a lot of schools right now. So
how many schools you have subscribed right now?
So we work with around 200 schools now, and we're growing. I think we are pretty much confident after the COVID thing gets over, because in the COVID thing, a lot of schools have tasted technology, which was mandatory to them, and hence we feel that now, since they have tasted it, they understand the use cases and the importance or what it enables them to do. So now we are pretty much confident the next 2 years we should grow much more faster.
So I think COVID came to your advantage also, though it is unfortunate for humanity, but for your business, it came very handy for you, because you were trying to, get the audience accustomed to technology, which you have developed niche.
Absolutely.
Great work. What is your gross revenue? Any just tentative figure? What is the gross revenue these days?
So we do somewhere around 1.5 CR across the entire year in revenue right now.
Oh, brilliant. Student, then an employee, and then an entrepreneur, and then an employer, who's created jobs. Brilliant. Okay, so Ilham, what is your business model? How do you make money?
So basically, we have two business models. First is where we open our own stores, and second is our franchise stores. So basically, franchises where the person get the name, they will give us the monthly royalty, and the different products will give them like chai masalas, chai pattis, and the disposals. So we earn them from these 3 sectors.
So how do you, which one pays you better, the franchisee model or your own stores?
I think when we feel like when we are we're lost of the money, so we'll sell the franchise and get money and open our new store.
So, okay, you take the, deposit money from the potential franchisees and then you open new stores of your own.
Yes, sir, yes.
Smart, very smart, good. So you don't, You know how to deal with the money, and that's what business is all about. And what is your gross revenue, 2019-20?
So it's something nearby 1 CR. So we're getting the sale of 1 CR in all the stores.
1 CR. Our time just flew, and in 2 years you touched 1 CR. Abhiraj, keep a watch. You know, he's just chasing you. Very nice, great. And Gaurav, what's your business model? How do you make money?
We also have set two business models. First is the government tenders, the direct hardware cost that we get from the government. Second is we monetize the urban mobility data. So we have two business models. Second one is a subscription-based model where we charge a monthly subscription fee as per usage. It's an API-based model. And again, the primary one right now is the government tenders and the work orders that we get from government.
Okay, great. So our audience is now, I think it's going to be 1,000 soon. It's building up. The audience now knows that what do you do and what is your business model? How do you make money? They know it. And now I think they should know, as a student, which year they should start a business, or what is the way they should start a business. And how the ecosystem right now, the facilities can come handy for them. Let's ask this question. Let's reverse that question. Let's ask Gaurav. Gaurav, what do you think? How these students can start their business?
Sir, I think about the time at which they start is not important. I think identification of a problem, that knack to solve a particular problem, it could come on the first day of joining or in the last day on the convocation also. Maybe they can do something about that also. So it's the moment when you find that this problem I need to solve, and it takes over your mind and you start building around it. Rest everything will fall into place. I guess if they're into Chitkara, we already have a well-established ecosystem, and you are there. Everyone, like we all are here because there was a mentorship and an ecosystem already so great. The only thing is identification of the problem first.
Okay, that's what you. Okay,
yeah. And the knack to solve it. That's for sure.
So the knack to solve it and the identification of the problem, and then money follows. Rest other things can follow.
They can follow. Yeah, they'll definitely follow. I have not seen anyone who has a dedication and a good problem to solve that money won't come. Money would come sooner or later. That's for sure.
Right. And what are your thoughts, Ilham? How can students start?
I think my thoughts are regarding the startup time is, I think Chitkara University is the startup culture is the best culture, where we get lots of people like you, ma'am, and everyone is there to get the best mentoring. So if a students in first year or any year, same as I'm saying, the Gaurav sir saying, so कहीं भी कुछ भी start करो, आप लोग साथ हो exposure देने के लिए, mentoring देने के लिए. I think I think students just need to get a good idea, a genuine idea, and you will take that idea into stars. And I think my opinion is this.
Okay, great. Points taken. I think points taken. Abhiraj, what are your thoughts? Is there an age to start, or is there a moment to start, or is there a partner in waiting you're waiting for, and iske saath shoot karna hai, right kind of people with you?
So I think Gaurav and Devama they both have already answered it more or less. So abhi basically it is the problem and the solution thing only. There is no age. I started in my school days, and that time I was doing some technology stuff. I used to sell it. I just gave it for free. The reason was that I could see some people who are not technology driven, but they want a technology product, and I could build it for them, and I could see it doing something for them that was making them happy or making their work easier. तो वहाँ उस टाइम मुझे ये नहीं समझ आता था क्या एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप है, क्या बिजनेस है, बस यही समझ आता था कि कुछ है जो हम कर सकते हैं, and it was helping someone. So there is no age at all. I mean, it is just that problem solving thing. You figure out things, keep looking at all sides and see what problems, and there are a lot of problems in our country that entrepreneurs can solve. कई बार ये भी होता है कि लोगों को लगता है कि यार सब कुछ तो बन चुका है, ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है. So many problems around us, and small problems which can be easily solved, and especially when you enter college, I think that's a good time because you have the ecosystem. Schools में शायद उतना ecosystem नहीं है. अभी college gives you the ecosystem, the funds and whatever to actually build out a prototype and try out the thing in real. So that's the best time. Uske baad you have all your things up post 4th year, you will have your placements and then all those things coming in, which will just distract you a little. But hence, during the 4 years, if you can do something, build out something, try out something, try, fail, whatever, and then figure out something, I think that's the best time.
Well, I think very well said. What I've learned from you all and other entrepreneurs I've come across is that, entrepreneurship is very personality driven. It's a mindset play, and it is all depends, you might tell, as you said, 10 reasons, but at the end of the day, tumne kya kiya, kaise kiya, wo zyada. Let's not blame. People who have become successful, I don't say only money is successful, people who've done something meaningful and are well-meaning people. There are people who are focused and they did one thing at a time, made it big, diversified, did other things. Right. So I think it's very personality driven. This is what I've learned from you all while interacting and dealing with you. So that's brilliant. There is no age to start, and it's about the right kind of timing, motivation, and all. Now let me come back with a sort of a flip question. There was a speaker, second speaker. He mentioned that the ecosystem of startups can grow when there are lesser shareholders, more of stakeholders, right? So there should be more people who have stake in the company and they feel responsible to run it, rather than people having shares, right? What are your thoughts on it? I'm just passing a comment to build some conversation around it. Let me have the comments from Abhiraj quickly, and then go to Devam and then Gaurav.
So just to rephrase it, you mean to say that inside the organization, the people who work for you, they should be stakeholders rather than just shareholders. That's what you mean, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
Right. So I think, see, this is again a little variable how you build the culture around the organization. I don't think that this is the only thing that you can make it work. And if you have a good culture, obviously you have to have stakeholders because you can not go through the journey alone. And but then what is the limit? I mean, you cannot just keep making stakeholders, because end of the day you'll hear so many stories where you will find that there were so many stakeholders and a couple of them fought and the thing went down. So I think, yes, obviously it is important, because difficult to go through the journey alone. If you have people with you, like-minded people who understand you, people with complementary skill sets, and you feel that you can together grow the business, grow the organization, you should have stakeholders, you should make them your stakeholders. And that's how it's been for me. These were interns at Chitkara. That's how we started, and a couple of them are now stakeholders, and they're co-founders. They run the organization with me. And it has been really helpful. If I go back and think of running it alone, I think it would be a very lonely and very difficult journey. So yes, but then there has to be a limit. I mean, you cannot keep making stakeholders. I mean, that's not the way to run a company.
Perfect. Perfect. What about you, Devan?
Yes, sir. I think same Virat sir said that I think there is a limit, how a stakeholder will come in that, and what the percentage is. And it's the most important thing, that you can't run the company alone. And I think we all three of us did this mistake. I did this mistake, that I want this alone, and I want to make it do each and everything on my own. But it's not impossible, because you need a mentor, you need a same-minded person जो आपको guide करे उस चीज के लिए कि कैसे grow करना है. Because हम किसी एक चीज में अच्छे हो सकते हैं, हर चीज में अच्छे नहीं हो सकते. But there is a limit of that कि what kind of stake they're asking for.
So I have a question, don't mind on that. You picked up your childhood friend to be your business partner, right?
Yes.
And many offers, I believe, party to those instances where people offered money to you. You were a part of the India Fund Fest, you pitched there also. You had, an interesting experience. Well, why the mindset is such that, okay, we will, do a comfortable partnership? I have a dad, mom, sister, brother, wife. Why not you guys, or, I'm not saying only you, but people try out different partners. They have a partner from Delhi or a Bombay, and, he's investing money. What stops to take that risk? Is it the trust, or what? Like, is it the ownership?
You can, yes, sir. Like same again. The same thing is this: like my friend is from that, well, we have started with from 5 years. मतलब हम 5th class से same class में हैं. He know my mind setup, I know his mind setup, because the most important thing in the startup is a team. If you don't have a accurate team, I think 99% startups just fail for the team. They start with 3 or 4 team members. I even started with 4 team members, and now they all are working in the different companies, and now they're asking me for the franchises. If we want to open a franchise and these kind of things. That is why I choose my friend, my childhood friend, and हम लोग वैसे भी बचपन में सोचते थे कि यार हम बड़े होके business करेंगे इकट्ठे होके, और ऐसे तो.
I think the takeaway coming out from your answer, and then we're going to go to Gaurav also, is that that trust is very important. Is somebody you're comfortable with. Somebody who work with you for 2 months and say okay bye bye, and you spend all the money, time, and emotions.
Right, sir.
Difficult one to come out of. So Gaurav, what are your thoughts?
Regarding the stake and share part, sir, I guess both of them have summed it up. But again, there is a line that you need to draw in the number of stakeholders thing. But I think times are changing now. If you assign responsibility in a very efficient manner, people are taking it up. If you give them stake or not. So that's not the problem that at least I am facing right now. So in my team, if you sit with your person, say an intern, and you assign him responsibility willingly, and he is able to take it. So I don't think he'll ask for stake, or you need to offer a stake to him ki you do it. So there is a line that needs to be drawn, but a reverse culture can also be developed. Like say if Abhirat sir is sitting with an intern, it would make a great impact. Like first 5-6 days, he's assigning roles and responsibilities. So if you do that as a founder or a co-founder, then I think the stake part clears away. They're more than happy to do it. This is what I felt with my interns.
No, that's fine. I think you have your own opinion about it, which is perfectly all right, and it's all case to case. Let me come to a very interesting part of running a business, and that is your, human capital, your people, your teams, which you just mentioned very briefly. Abhiraj, how do you keep your team happy and motivated?
Good one. So I think the best thing that has worked for me is the culture, wherein the best thing that has worked for the culture is giving them freedom. So I think since we started our business and second or the third year onwards, we didn't have an office we didn't have a policy where everybody had to come to the office. I personally didn't enjoy coming to the office, to be very frank. So I thought that since I don't enjoy working in the office, and there are so many other places where I'm more productive, why don't I give the same option to the other people? And since then, obviously there was a lot of friction. A lot of people said that the only way to work is in the office, or you have to keep a check on them on all that stuff. But with the internet and all these tools available today, you have, they can sit anywhere and work so well. And that worked amazingly well. So I had an employee who worked for me, and then worked for Schoolpad, and eventually she had to go to Delhi because she got married. She went there, she went into a company, and eventually she got a kid, and she couldn't figure out her work-life balance in that organization. She said me that she can work very well, but she needs something like a work from home, or is there an opportunity? And we said, yes, that's what we are doing. And since then, since in the last 3 years, she came back, she's with us. She's doing super amazingly. She's being very productive, and she's so happy that she feels that now she's part of the family, because
wow,
there was a point.
That's a victory. That's what you invested.
Correct. And it gives you one more thing that I realized is, let's say we talk about talent. So we say that we don't have talent in Tri-City or whatever. So that also gives you an option to actually hire anywhere in the country, and not even in the country, actually anywhere in the globe, because they can work from anywhere, anytime. And if you can build a culture or build a protocol wherein they can deliver that way, I think that freedom works really well. So I think that's been the major reason for us of why we feel that our employees are happy, because of that kind of freedom.
Perfect. I think what I could understand is that you have your own style of working, and an entrepreneur should have his own style of working, with which one can be rectified. So what are your thoughts, Divam? What do you do to keep your employees happy?
I think, sir, sorry for the disturbance, sir. I'm in the house.
Are you giving them free tea?
I think, sir, in my case, my employees are a little bit like come from the villages. Like they never went to the schools, they never went to the colleges, they never went to the clubs, they never went to the beautiful restaurants. So what we do. I think good thing in us is we all are young and we are all of the young mind here, and we know what basically people want. कि अभी उनको कहाँ घूमना है, क्या करना है, कैसे जाना है, तो हमें वो चीजें पता है. तो आई थिंक मैं उनको क्या करता हूँ कि मंथली उनको वी हैव अ मीट, उनको हम सर्टिफिकेट्स ट्रॉफीज फ्रॉम डिफरेंट डिफरेंट मेंटर्स कभी आपसे कभी किसी से बुला के दिए जाते हैं जिनसे वो कभी स्कूल नहीं गए एंड दे फील वेरी हैप्पी कि हाँ मैं कभी द एम्प्लॉयज आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द एम्प्लॉयज व्हिच आर वर्किंग इन द कैफेज. So I take all the employees one day to the big restaurants and bars, and I'll tell them enjoy whatever you want to eat and whatever you want to drink, you can do. So I think these are the things which are very make them happy. So in my case, it's kind of.
I think that's very much symbolic to your personality also. You look happy all the time. And so it's good that you pass on that, sort of message to your team and they feel motivated. So Gaurav, Devam, please say what you say.
Yes, I'm saying so. I think in my startup, in my case, I think most important thing is employees, because if I invested a lot of money to train the whole 100 item of recipes, and next day if he didn't feel happy, he'll go back, and there is no one to serve on the cafe. So I think we have to make them happy.
Good, very nice, very important. Yeah, Gaurav, what about you?
Sir, at Anukai, we do two things. Firstly, we keep a communication session every week or fortnightly. काम के अलावा बात करते हैं पूरी टीम से. So COVID gave us this idea. So video call पे every Saturday Sunday किसी को कुछ बताना है या कोई कुछ पढ़ा देता है या just not for traffic lights, anything. The whole team talks. So that's very very important. Second thing is birthdays and festivals. अभी बाहर नहीं जा पा रहे हैं तो फैमिली डिनर वी ऑर्गेनाइज के आप घर पे everyone enjoys food with their family. So these are small things that we do to keep our employees happy. And again, Devam ने जो कहा कि employees हैं तो it's working. The team that
I think a good employer can take more productivity from a happy employee.
Exactly.
When he or she understands the employer, see like the needs an employer would have, the same needs employee would have. I'm talking about in general needs. Somebody who needs to go to a bank, and if the employer is not understanding, say, okay, don't go to the bank, go on a Sunday. He says Sunday is closed. No? So there has to be some sort of chemistry of understanding. Understanding each other. So I think that's how you build great teams, and I believe that where I'm standing right now, Chitkarau is a great example of leadership and how they build amazing teams. So that's what I'm proud. Working for such a great institution. Well, this is my last question, and I need a quick answer. Abhiraj, is entrepreneurship a stressful job?
So I think it is a choice. This I think this comes from another question which is very normally asked, that whether we should go for a job or become an entrepreneur. And so basically, see, it is a choice, and it is not something that everybody should do. I mean, it's not that entrepreneurship is good or a job is good or entrepreneurship is bad job. It is a choice, and if and it happens. I mean, I don't think you feel that okay, it is better for you to become an entrepreneur and not take a job, but it will eventually happen, because that problem solving thing and that keeps troubling you, and eventually you figure out that this is something I can solve, and you do it over and over, and you. So once that thing happens, I think there is a lot of, though there are times when you feel lonely and you feel that it's a bad day, but then there's a lot of motivation that keeps happening throughout the journey with small things, small successes, with you doing your own things and getting successes. So I think if you are an entrepreneur, I mean, by heart you are an entrepreneur, you want to build things, and that gives you the kind of happiness, because I mean, for us, building stuff and then giving it in hands of a customer, and then customer coming back to you and saying that this has worked for him, or he's happy, or whatever. So I think that's good enough for us to give back, and I don't think that way it is stressful, and it is a journey actually. So in every journey you'll have hard days.
Right. So it is a choice. It's a choice. Yeah. And how do you handle it? But we wish that entrepreneurs have a good work-life balance also, and that's very also critical, because their passion is very flowing, and it's
so. One thing I want to add, because the last question you asked and what we are coming to is, see, one thing that I've learned, which has been very interesting and I've been working on it aggressively in the last 2 years. We talk about entrepreneurs building products. So when it comes to products is basically what you're building, your technology and stuff. I think we should also think that your company or organization is your product. So if you think that way, what you'll try to do is you'll try to build your organization also and try playing around with ideas to build a culture and all that stuff. So I think for an entrepreneur, it should be the entire organization. That's your product. And you keep, like you do with your product, you have to do with your organization also, and keep playing around.
That's a brilliant thought. It's a holistic approach. And, that's how you, apart from your personal branding, is the organization branding very important.
Right. So work-life balance and everything falls in place then.
Very important, otherwise you can't run family happily. So,
right.
What about you, Devam? How do you take stress? Do you think it's very stressful?
Yeah, I think so. It's a very stressful thing, but I think this stress will choose on their own. And I think the most important thing, we work on our passion. कि हमें जो चीज पसंद है हम उसी पे work out कर रहे हैं. I always think, like, I was the university convener in many fests and these kind of things. I don't know how to code a single thing. So what I choose is what I want to choose. So it's a stressful job, but it's a very wonderful journey. जिसमें हमारी बहुत सारी ऐसी मीट्स होती हैं, अच्छे लोगों से मिलना होता है. We'll tell the journey. I think this gives us a lot of happiness more than that.
I think it is, again, echoing what Abhiraj said, that it's your choice. You love doing what you do. Gaurav?
Definitely, sir. But just 10% of the, I guess, journey is stress. Baki 90% is to you're on a high. I guess you're on a high. Problem keeps motivating you and you don't feel stress after a certain period of time. Like it happens ke 1 second ke liye, but again you are focused on something.
Yeah, you master the art of handling.
You are again a call aa jayega and you are out of it, and again you get good news and then bad news, so it flips. You don't have time for stress, I guess. So that's the.
No, I think that's a very balanced approach, and you guys have gone through it, and it also reflects to your personalities, your upbringing, and all. And I wish God gives you the impetus to perform much better and stronger, and go on and follow the path which you're doing, the ethical path of building your enterprise, and also give back to your alma mater, your university, which I always believe that you always do. That students who are listening, I must tell you, the entrepreneurs are not, just busy with their work. Whenever Chitkara University needs them for mentoring sessions, like as of today, what they're doing, they're sparing their valuable time. Maybe they had a customer to meet or a call to do. They thought, okay, we'll postpone it and come and address the students. So that's what, strikes a balance. When you have knowledge, you gain something, and you love to share it. So with that note, thank you very much. It's an honor to have you with us again. And we wish to see a normal environment back at campus and have you over sitting in Exploratorium on a stage and chatting some ideas. Yeah?
Definitely, sir. Honor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All the best. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Dear students, I hope you enjoyed this panel discussion of 3 wonderful, successful entrepreneurs. And we will assemble after lunch at 1:50 for our next session. And also the results of the Opta Hacks, Ideathon will be announced soon, today itself. And looking forward to meet you at 1:50. Please be there on time. And thank you for a great attendance. It's been going so good. See you soon. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome back to Startup Conclave, hosted by Chitkara University. We are back in the session 2. We had an exciting, run in the first half of the conclave, and we had wonderful speakers, starting from Ankur Warikoo from nearby, Dr. Ilham A, live from Indonesia, and we were later on joined by one of our favorites from Chandigarh region, Sanam Kapoor, founder of La Pino'z Pizza, and then we had a very blistering panel discussion with 3 successful startups, I would say alumni startups from Chitkara University. Now, we have a wonderful young gentleman who is an entrepreneur and one of the very inspirational community builders, and he has been building the startup community in India and abroad, and presently, under the Global Entrepreneurship Week program, this Entrepreneurship Week is celebrated all over the world at this point in time of the year, and so he heads the Gen India Global Entrepreneurship Network as its managing director for India. So, ladies and gentlemen, and our wonderful students, thank you for joining in again. We look forward to another wonderful 30 minutes of a keynote address from Yatin Thakur, and hope you will get some wonderful insights on how an ecosystem, how startups can be built up, and whatever he feels fit for this wonderful audience, he's going to share an address. Hello, Yatin, how are you doing?
Hi, Sumir. Thank you so much for having me over here. Hope you all are having a good entrepreneurship week.
Yes, thanks to you that it happened. So we really enjoyed it. It's been good going.
No, that's fabulous. I saw the speaker list. I've been following the event and all the activities. Plus, Chitkara has always been an inspiration for me. It's been 3 years since the time I gave a TED talk over there.
Yes.
I think the audience would have changed, but it's happy to be back with all of you.
Great, Yatin. So thank you very much. Over to you. We have a wonderful student participation, mostly first-year students and startup community of Chitkara. Over to you and welcome again.
All right. Just one question, will they be putting in any questions, or do you want me to just talk?
Usually we are just wanting you to talk because there are a lot of students, then we have only 30 minutes. So we can post the questions later on.
All right. Thank you so much, Sumir.
All the best. See you.
Hi, guys. My name is Yatin Thakur. As Sumir mentioned, I'm the managing director of Gen India, and I also chair Gen in Asia. Today, I'm very, very excited to be in front of you all. Hope you all are doing well. As you know, the work which your university is doing and the work India is doing is very, very exciting, especially with regards to promotion and support of entrepreneurship. So I'm going to start with my story, and then I'm going to talk more about why we are doing what we are doing and what are the opportunities for you all. So about 17 years back, I was pretty much in the same league as you guys. Actually, I was much younger than you all are presently. I was in my high school when I decided to start my entrepreneurial journey. I started this journey because I was very clear I wanted to do multiple things. I wanted to learn more about the new developments, the new innovations, the new technology which was surrounding us back in those days. But when I decided to become an entrepreneur, I realized there was no support. Being a high school kid, my first go-to people were my teachers. And I went and spoke to them about entrepreneurship. They had zero idea about it. I spoke to my friends. They said, you have gone mad. And we don't know anything about entrepreneurship. Time flew. I got into college. I was in university. And again, I approached my professors. And they said, we don't know anything about entrepreneurship. All the best. We have some alum members who run their own business, but that's about it. And that was my welcome into this entrepreneurial world where practically there was zero information, zero tools, no knowledge available whatsoever. So I was on my own. I started my journey and I decided to do something different. From that point onwards, I started various ventures. I launched different companies. Some worked, some did not work. But a lot of times it taught me one thing. It gave me experience. It gave me stories. It gave me access to people like Samir, who eventually end up being inspiration for you all. So about 9 years back, I decided to support my fellow entrepreneurial community in getting started. And that start happens from colleges, start happens from school. Start happens once you are done with your MBA. I'm pretty sure most of you guys are still in your first or second year in college, still trying to figure out what you want to do. But remember, this is the time to start up. So if you're planning to do something, you got to be thinking about it now. Because when you start, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes persistence, it takes passion to build something. What we have done in the last 15, 16 years and what India as a country has done in the last 6, 7 years is build a stronger support system for you guys. The support system which allows you to establish anything on your own, which allows you to reduce your dependency on a job, which allows you to get started, which allows you to scale your ventures as quickly as possible. So it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what background you come from, as long as you are in a university like Chitkara, you are in safe hands and you have an opportunity to start up. And that starting up can happen by identifying some of the problems around you. So if you think there are problems which bother you, which hound you, where you think a solution needs to be taken out at the earliest, it is the time for you to start solving those problems now. And if you think about solving those problems, remember, we are there to support you and back you up. So, so I'll tell you how do we do it. The way these universities, incubators, accelerators, investors play a role. Today, as a country, today as a continent, and as the whole planet, we all are going through a very weird situation. We all are hit by pandemic. Today, we all are talking virtually. Who thought about it? Had it been a normal day, you would have been sitting in the auditorium and listening to me in front of you. But this communication is allowing us to get connected to people from around the world. This communication, this tool is helping us do business. This situation has also put a question mark on some of the traditional models. If you thought about joining your family business, if you thought about going back to your hometowns or villages and getting back into the agriculture sector, I know a lot of you would have left that space and moved to the cities for a better life. But today we all are moving back. We all are moving back because we are forced to go back to our roots, and we are forced to save our planet, and we are forced to save our loved ones. Which means you got to be around them, which means you got to be doing work, using the education, knowledge, tools which you have now, which did not exist back in the days. But these tools, innovations, technology, connections allow you to achieve greater heights. In order to do that, it is you got to understand how do you adapt to this new change. Unfortunately, your textbooks, your peers won't be able to tell you this. There's immense knowledge available. There are experienced people who are there. That's the reason you heard some of the success stories from people like Ankur or Sanam, who have done fabulous things, sitting in at their home place, especially Sanam, right? Like how he started a pizza chain which competes with pretty much Domino's and Pizza Hut, and it's actually much better than that. I've had the fortune of tasting some of his pizzas in the last 5-6 years. How did that happen? It happened because he was able to figure out an opportunity. He was able to figure out how localization can play a role, and a simple thing like a pizza can also be made better, and better than the larger multinational corporations. So this is your opportunity to do something. It is your opportunity to figure out how you can bring about a change, how you can modernize or digitize the way new businesses are done. Whether you are a farmer or from a farming background, or you come from a small town where you have a trading business, or you are planning to manufacture something, or you are planning to start a digital service company of any sorts. Everything is possible today. The way we are talking to the world, the way we are making sales, the way we are running our trade is changing. It's all about technology. It's all about communication, connections, and networks. And that's what we all are there. We all are here to provide you with. So my humble request to each and every person is to think about a problem, figure out a possible solution. And once you have identified the solution, approach your entrepreneurship cell, approach your entrepreneurship director and his team to get started. And from there on, you'll see the magic will happen. There are people around you. There are many of you working together, connecting with each other. Use this opportunity to solve a problem. Use this opportunity to come up with something innovative. Use this opportunity to show it to the world that yes, you can make a change. Global Entrepreneurship Week and Global Entrepreneurship Network has been doing exactly this thing from last 12 years. We have been promoting entrepreneurship. We have been supporting entrepreneurs like you. We have been trying to highlight stories. We have gone and spoken to different government organizations to support entrepreneurship. Today, if you see incubation activities being given so much of preference, if you see nations like India coming forward and talking more about starting up and starting a movement like Startup India, if you talk about a cross-border exchange of talent in form of startup visas, entrepreneurship visas, e-residency programs, all of those things are happening because we have given entrepreneurs an opportunity to work. So today, you are no longer dependent on a job to migrate to a new country. Today, you are no longer dependent on money to get started, right? Today, you are no longer dependent on your savings to build your business idea. Today, it's all about your idea, your talent, your team, which can make a difference. If you have that, there are adequate amount of resources. There are sufficient number of investors within your surrounding area. If I quote Punjab specifically, you would know what Chandigarh Angel Network is all about. I think your university and the founding trustees of the university took the lead in building this chapter and network. Today, there is a very strong investor community in your neighborhood, in your surrounding area. Today, there are people, there are success stories from your region. There are people who are building larger enterprises from there. Today, the government is asking you to build something. Government is not asking you to go and work for someone. All of this has happened because we see entrepreneurs driving the change, entrepreneurs driving things. And remember, entrepreneurship is not about building a large multinational corporation. It's not about building the next Amazon or Flipkart. It's not about Facebook or Paytm. It's about doing something of your own, which sustains you and which at least sustains 8 to 10 people around you. I remember about 3 years back, around the same time, it was September of 2017, I was in your university giving a talk about how 1 million entrepreneurs can create 10 million jobs. That's a big number. If everyone from Chitkara University becomes an entrepreneur, or even if 10% of people become entrepreneur every year, you have at least 500 to 600 ventures coming out of your campus every year. And imagine if those people create 10 to 15 jobs, you are in a position to create about 5 to 8,000 jobs a year. That's probably the whole batch size of Chitkara at any point of time. I don't know what's the number at this point, but imagine the change which a small part of you guys can do. And if an organization grows larger, they might be able to create even 100 jobs, who knows. So the power is in your hands. You have the ability, you have the support, you have the people, you have the network, and you have access to money. Use it and bring about a change.
That's wonderful, Yatin. That's really coming from your heart, and the way you have done the narrative, and guided them, putting yourself in their shoes is something very commendable. And I'd like to just ask you that, what are your thoughts on how the support from the government has increased in the last 5 years? Because you've been working with Startup India. I just put up a last question before we part. What are your thoughts, how things have changed, and how these students can turn that to their advantage?
So the way things have changed around the country are, first of all, with Startup India coming in, this whole segment of startups and entrepreneurship is becoming mainstream. Today, it's no longer a risky proposition. Today, every graduating student, every youngster of the country wants to work for a startup and not for a larger corporate. Yes. And I think that's the biggest success story which we have seen. Earlier, you felt startup provided you, every startup had a lot of uncertainty. And there was a lot of risk when you used to work for a startup. Right. Today, that risk has gone down because we have seen innovations happening. Today, especially in this pandemic world, whatever you are doing, you have dependence on a startup. Today, we are talking on a tool which was started up by a young entrepreneur. Today, we order all our food, all our groceries through a startup. Today, we are being transported using a startup. For that matter, today, even the contact tracing for COVID across the country is happening through an app built by a startup in the shortest possible time. That's the power of a startup, right? And that's where the government has also realized they have the ability to bring about a change, and they can bring that change in a much faster manner, because they don't have to follow the bureaucracy. They don't have to follow a set process. They are just given a mandate that, okay, go ahead and bring about a change. There are challenges in the system, but government is also working towards it. If we talk about the Indian government specifically, so the government created almost a $1.5 billion fund, which translates to about 10,000 crores. This fund was provided to other investors to give it to young startups. you would know as a university incubator, you guys have been putting in a lot of money to build state-of-the-art facilities so that there is a startup environment within the university for kids to get started. You would know that incubation centers or incubators as a whole they have been around for over 10, 12 years. But Indian government in last 4 to 5 years has taken the lead to establish over 500 incubators, a lot of them in partnership with university like yours, to promote entrepreneurship. The Atal Incubation Mission was something which was started by the government of India to provide support to all the young minds.
No, absolutely. I think that is where we've been a part of the journey, all of us, in one way or the other. But I think you are right that the whole environment has changed and it's become very conducive. And for the students, one of the big takeaways from your address is that it's a moment of opportunity. They should grab it. Environment is very conducive. Government is supportive. Chitkara University itself has some wonderful grants which we are utilizing right now. And with over 120 plus startups, things are now a little more wonderful and our processes are in place and there is an ecosystem. Well, with that note, we hope that some of our startups do well and come and work in one of your incubation centers and your co-working spaces. And look forward to having you in person here again very soon once things get as they were before. And with that note, I give you a big thank you, and on behalf of the university, it's a humble gratitude to have you with us today and on an auspicious occasion of a conclave, Startup Conclave. So thank you, Yatin. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sumir. All I want to say is, guys, don't keep thinking, don't keep sitting. It's time to start up. Wish you all a very, very happy Global Entrepreneurship Week. Enjoy this moment and make sure you are utilizing this time to get inspired. Thank you.
Thank you. Big encouragement. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Yatin. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen and wonderful students, it's time now to conclude, but there is something very interesting we kept for the conclave, and it's at the tail end, but all the tail ends start wonderful beginnings. So we have, Dr. Pino'z Manuja, our Pro Vice Chancellor, who is going to give the Thanksgiving note, but most importantly, Sir has been a great support to this program. And we humbly thank him and his team, Dr. Vidu Kurana, and others in the engineering department, computer science engineering department. We thank them a lot for making this program very smooth, I would say. And we were floating throughout the day since morning, and now we come to the end of the program with our last session. And OptaHacks, which has been an ideathon with the engineering students, has seen a great response and a lot of participation. And the finale and the jury finale happened just before lunch. And I will request Dr. Manoj to also announce the results. With that note, thank you very much from my side and have a good day. Over to Dr. Manoj for the parting note. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumir. Good afternoon, my dear esteemed guests, colleagues, and students. I am Dr. Pino'z Manuja, Pro Vice Chancellor Academics at Chitkara University, and I am here to present the closing remarks for this wonderful Startup Conclave 2020. What a wonderful day it has been today. You must have observed, you must have experienced. Startup Conclave 2020 is Chitkara University's one of its own kind entrepreneurship summit with a very strong focus on promoting entrepreneurship in India and to inspire, nurture, and handhold budding entrepreneurs from the Indian startup ecosystem. On behalf of Chitkara University, we would like to extend our warm and sincere thanks to Dr. Hobibie, an international personality who graced the conclave despite his hectic schedule just to address our budding entrepreneurs. Many thanks, Dr. Hobibie, for the great session. a heartfelt thanks to Mr. Ankur Warikoo, whose charismatic talk today actually struck the right chord with our participants, who felt very, very motivated after listening to his thoughts in the morning session. A fireside chat with Mr. Sanam Kapoor was so live wire that it brought the deeper insight of the entrepreneurship challenges and opportunities altogether. An awesome talk by Mr. Yatin Thakur, just finished, has been so engaging and absorbing that it has provided a direction forward to all the participants in the field of startup and entrepreneurship. I must highlight the efforts being put by Mr. Sunil Walia and his entire team at CUCEED, who work 24/7 to make this event a memorable one. Hats off to you, Samir and team. The whole initiative might not have seen the light of the day if it did not get the mentorship and guidance from none other than Mr. Mohit Chitkara. He is the primary pillar of strength for all of us at Chitkara University. Many thanks, Mohit sir, for being the wall for all of us. Now, students, it is time to announce the winners of the hack. This entrepreneurship competition witnessed close to 200 innovative startup ideas from our first year engineering students. Yes, my dear participants, my dear audience, startup ideas from class 12 pass out students. Fantastic, bravo. Yes, this is what Chitkara University's startup ecosystem is all about. The punchline at Chitkara University is explore your potential. At CUCEED, that is Chitkara Entrepreneurship Education and Development Center, we sincerely believe in catching them young. On these lines, we have got close to 200 ideas from freshman 2020 batch of budding engineers. Out of them, first level of filtering provided 30 ideas. At second level, the number was 10, then to 5 on the final day, that is today, just 1 hour back. It was really wonderful to observe the enthusiasm and rigor among the young budding entrepreneurs. After a stiff competition, we are happy to announce the second runner-up. Keep your fingers crossed. Second runner-up is Social Profit Group. First runner-up is Smart Dustbin. And the winner of the Hack competition is Effective Food Packaging. So wonderful. In our opinion, those 200 ideas are all our winners for us, and we look forward to those 200 ideas in coming time to get materialized into a full-fledged startup at CUCEED, Chitkara University. With this, we close the current edition of Startup Conclave 2020 with a clear hope of making it a bigger event next year. Many thanks for the wonderful participation, and we look forward to meeting you next year again on the same platform. Till then, goodbye, good wishes from Chitkara University. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. It was so wonderful and heartfelt note of gratitude from your side, and congratulations to all the winners. We hope that they are going to be just getting on to work and building their companies right away. And we look forward to, as Sir said, for a bigger competition. And with that note, we thank Team CUCEED, Dr. Neeraj, Dr. Adarsh, Madam Abha, and also we thank Chitkara's technical team who have been, round the clock working throughout the day for this program. With that note, thank you very much. See you next year. Regards and warm welcome once again.